Welcome. Who's here? Let's see, we got I see a few people I recognize. Someone named Miwa came in the chat very early and said, Annyeong, hello. Lady Natbug, hey from California. Let's see, who else do I recognize? Flo, Cosma, Mason B. I feel like I've seen your name before. Let's see. Keith, I definitely recognize as well, of course. And your name's Green, so how can I forget? And Fisho. Kay Lay, my first stream, welcome. Savan as well. Hello. I can't speak English suddenly. Yeah, we have a very interesting stream for today. It's going to be honestly, this is an advanced level topic, but it's like maybe beginner level to conjugate and use. So I'm just going to say it's somewhere in the intermediate level. But yeah, I would say if you're not advanced, you're probably not going to be using it yourself. But as long as you are at least able to make the form, you can at least understand it whenever you see it. So in that way, it's an advanced form in that you're probably not going to use it, but it's not advanced in that it's pretty easy to make and you will see it sometimes. So yeah, this is a lesson. It's a lesson for everyone. It's rated E for everyone, regardless of your Korean level. Even if you don't even know the alphabet, even if you don't know where Korean is on a map, like I didn't in 2005 when I was first starting to learn Korean. Even if you don't know anything about Korean, this lesson is still going to be appropriate for you. We'll see how that holds up by the end of the lesson. A few people are here for their first time. Who's not here for their first time? No. Let me say it. Let me think about this. Because I know the ones who are here, who've been here before many times. I recognize your name. Who has just subscribed? Are there any new subscribers? That's what I want to know. Besides just your first stream, is there anyone who just subscribed like this month? Fisho. Is it better to speak slowly to have more natural sounding pronunciation and intonation? A native Korean speaker told me I have good intonation, but 556 pronunciation. Is it better? You're asking, is it better to speak slowly in order to have more natural sounding pronunciation? No, because Koreans themselves don't speak slowly necessarily. Speed is based on the individual's preference. Some people like speaking very quickly. You'll meet Koreans they just go off at a mile a minute, and you'll meet other Koreans who speak like you think they're speaking slowly because you're not a native Korean, but that's actually just how they speak. No, I don't think that really matters. I think a more helpful way to practice your pronunciation is by speaking loud so that you can hear your own voice loud in that sense. You're not going to be like, 안녕하세요, like screaming everywhere you go. Oh, 감사합니다. Oh, like going all like that. You don't need to do that. But if your voice is at least loud enough that you yourself can hear it so that your brain can reprocess it and think like, did I say that okay? Wait, did I really pronounce it that way? That's going to help you. So like the volume I'm speaking at right now would be great. If you can speak Korean, practicing it at just a clear, loud volume, that's going to be more beneficial than trying to speak on young. Like that's not going to help your pronunciation very much. Miwa says, did you say your books can achieve lower intermediate? Yes and no, because it depends on whatever you use. You can get to any level. So I'm not going to say you need my books to reach a certain level. It doesn't really matter. If you're talking about the content in it, like what difficulty level does it reach? It depends on the source. I've seen certain Korean teaching books say things that are beginner level that I would say are more intermediate, or most of the time it's the other way. They'll say it's advanced level, but it's actually solidly in the beginner level. That's more often than not. I see advanced things, things that are advertised as advanced that are actually within the basics, things that you need to build on top of. So it all depends on the teacher. It all depends on what service you're using. Like some places will say, oh, that's, this level's beginner and intermediate and advanced. And other people would say, oh, that's advanced. No, that's intermediate, or that's actually way beginner. And if you're comparing it with English, it's not going to match up at all. So I don't like classifying things by that. I like thinking of things as more on practical levels, like how much will this actually help you to learn Korean? And the way I classify it, I would put beginner as any sort of level where you're learning just the basics, but you can't really have a conversation. You can put together sentences, but it's not going to be what you want to say or the way you want to say it. Anything like that is in the beginner level. Intermediate is where you start to be able to have conversations. You start to be able to say things that you want to say and in the way you want to say it. When you've reached that level and you can make accurate sentences where people understand you and understand a variety of topics, it's basically conversational is what I would say is intermediate level. Because you're not at that point, you're not like really skilled in Korean, but you can use it fluidly at your level. And most people just kind of stay in that level unless they try to get out of it. And then advanced would be beyond that, where you can pretty much you can interact with people at native speeds, native topics. You can talk about more things than what you're planning. They could bring up any topic and you can talk about it. Even if you don't know anything, you can talk around anything you want. So that's how I classify it. So in that way, yes, with practice, you could reach a basic conversational level, which would be somewhere in the intermediate level, with a little bit extra room, depending on how much you're practicing. Caitlin says, 안녕하세요. Yes, that's correct. Perfect. New sub. Nice. A few new subs. Kai is our brand new sub. I believe Kai just subbed just a few minutes ago, I believe. Welcome, Kai. Augustus, I subscribed last month. Nice. 3 weeks ago. Fisho says, I speak kind of quietly. How do I sound more loud and be more normal? By telling yourself that, well, it's kind of like, you're at a party and you're introverted. How do you go up to the next person, to go up to someone next to you and start talking with them? At first, it's very hard. But what you kind of do is you like put on a mask and you pretend that you're cool with it. And it's kind of like that with Korean. You just do it. You don't comfortably practice Korean if you're not comfortable. If you're not that type of person who's normally comfortable with just going out, putting yourself out there, then you pretend you are while you speak Korean. And you might find that actually develops into your Korean speaking personality where you're shy in English, but you're really outgoing in Korean. Sometimes that happens. But you just kind of have to do it. You just grin and bear it. Flo Purdy says, I missed the last few weeks because I have season tickets to the Magic 3 Sunday games in a row. Nice. Start them. Yeah, okay. I see Kai and Lady Natbug are having a conversation. Lala says, I bought your Korean books a few years ago. Nice. And they are so hello. Well, hello to you too. Oh, helpful. I see. Anyone who's brand new, so if you've just subscribed or this is your first live stream, welcome. You might be wondering, where's the Korean, Billy? You're a Korean teacher. Show me some Korean. Tell me some Korean stories. Well, we always start the live streams about 20 to 30 minutes early, usually about 25 minutes early, where we just kind of hang out and talk. You can ask questions. Anything that's not related to the lesson is fine. Or actually, you could ask about the lesson, but I mean, you'll hear it anyway. And we always start the lesson right at the top of the hour. So you do have time right now if you want to get, I don't know, like your notebook, a pen, get something to drink, get something to eat. I don't know what I'm doing. Whatever you want. We still have time. We'll start right at the top of the hour. YouTube's always trying to tell me now would be a great time to insert an advertisement to all 68 of you right now. So I'm sure that will generate me so much money if I do that. So I just clicked no thanks. Hey, Kai, it's not the top of the hour yet. How dare you? Hiya, Billy, Kai says. Hiya, Kai. Kai has our first donation of today. Thank you so much, Kai. And you say, my niece just TV toned 8. Just, what's TV toned? Is that where your face suddenly becomes like interlaced and you lose your soul and get sucked into the television set? Like what our parents warned us would happen if we sat too close to the TV as a kid? Oh, turned 8. Okay. I wanted to know if you could say happy birthday. Her name is Aubrey. Hello, Aubrey. I don't know if you're learning Korean or if you're interested in Korean or Korea or not, but either way, I'll say happy birthday, or in Korean, they say 생일 축하합니다. Happy birthday. It's the sound 8 makes when you press. TV toned 8. Yeah, that's when you push the channel 8, and nowadays the old stations are gone, so it'll just give you static or something. Or I don't know, what is channel 8? Is there anything on channel 8? There's got to be something on channel 8, right? There's a few channels that are just like nothing, though. They'll be like, oh, 2, like 3 or 2. I remember one of those was the one you used when you're playing, when you're trying to play games, when you're playing like Super Nintendo or Nintendo, and you had to make the channel. I think it was like 2 or 3 or whatever, and that was the one that would let you play the game through the adapter cord. You know what I'm talking about? But we didn't have much money. We had a PlayStation. We got a PlayStation, or I don't know, my siblings had a PlayStation, and we didn't have enough money to buy the actual adapter, so we bought like a third party, like a knockoff adapter to attach it to our TV. But it was so low quality, so the signal would jitter, so the game would always be like shaking up and down the entire time. But you couldn't really adjust the adapter. Like, I think it was the adapter was loose or something, but if you adjusted it, it would shock you because it wasn't even like, I don't know how that worked because it was a coax cable, but somehow it would like hurt you or whatever. I just remember getting shocked by it a couple times. It was weird. Should I follow this lesson even though I'm quite new to Korean? You can take notes if you're like a really new beginner. Then just take a few notes and you'll be fine. You don't need to write down the sentences or worry about using it yourself. Put it on 3. Yeah, I think it was channel 3. I'm trying to remember because this was a long time ago. Do you know the channel Taeyungsim? Yeah, check out my video. I did a video about podcasts actually just last month or 2 months ago. You can check out that video I made, like best podcasts for learning Korean or something like that, and I rated a bunch of or I recommended a bunch of podcasts that are for specifically for Korean learners. Stella's mom, 새해 복 많이 받으세요. Yes, that's right. It's gonna be 설 or 설날 specifically, and that is the new year. So you're gonna hear people once again, just like after January 1st you hear it. Now you're gonna hear people once again saying Happy New Year. And I believe this year is the blue snake, if I'm correct. Let me double check. Year of, yeah, I think it's year of the blue snake. Yeah. Specifically, I guess it's the wood snake, which is blue snake. So yeah, it's the blue snake for 2025. I think they even refer, do they use the wood one or they use 청? 청 for blue. Sa is snake, I believe. So that would be 청사 if it's blue snake. Anyway, you don't really need to know that. It's just the snake. The year of the snake. She's watching Korean. Oh, Kai, she's learning Korean. Okay. And she watches and hangs out with you. Remember when I asked about Reese and Reese's Pieces? Yes. I thought it was a secret Billy code. Yeah, blue snake. Bye, lady. I can't read that. I've been learning Korean for 2 years now, but when I went to Korea, it was quite hard speaking spontaneously. Yes! 2 years it could be a lot or it could be nothing. It depends the way you're studying. For most people, I'll just say this sounds a bit depressing, but for most people, 2 years studying Korean outside of Korea doing it like casually for, 20 minutes a day or less than that, not having Korean friends to practice with. Am I describing you not doing any Korean listening practice outside of watching Korean dramas and listening to K-pop? I mean, no offense. I'm just kind of describing the average Korean learner. 2 years is not enough to get to a conversational level. I'm sorry. Now, 2 years living in Korea, having Korean friends, doing like zero Korean study is a lot of study time because you end up learning a lot through simply talking with people. But outside of Korea, there's a better way you could learn than just doing that. And that would be studying it and practicing it and getting lots of exposure. So you'd want to change some of those up. You'd want to change the way you're studying. You'd want to change the exposure you're getting, and you'd want to change your method of practicing it. But learning languages, and it's not just Korean, but all languages work in this same way. Now, Korean does take more time to do it, but the way it works is mostly the same. ATs. Oh, is there an ATs concert tomorrow? I didn't know that. Like I do the research on their Korean. I don't know much about their discography or when they do performances and stuff like that. I guess there's an ATs concert. Flo says, my daughter's a huge ATs fan. Oh, nice. I have a private tutor 1 hour a week. Okay. Hopefully you're practicing speaking in Korean during that time. I mean, I'd assume you would be. It's not just... But I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's bad if you're not doing that, but you would probably want to look at everything specifically and see where the weak points are. I've done that sometimes. I've done like people will book me for a tutoring session and all they want is just advice on how they can tune their Korean tutoring to go in a better direction. Most of the time people I talk with in that don't have pretty much any of the things that they need set up yet. So I give advice. I'll be like, oh, well, this is what you're doing here. You need to do this or add this. I hope that they're doing that. I haven't met with too many people more than once. Usually we'll just do like a quick session and then that's pretty much it. Do you know the Comprehensible Input Korean channel? Do I know? Yeah, I know. I had already said I knew who you were talking about. Ministry of Music. I can't go to Korea right now, so do you have advice for how to get Korean friends to practice talking with? Yes, they are online. Korean friends are waiting for you online. Now, I'm not as big of a fan of these apps as I was a few years ago, but the apps HelloTalk and Tandem still exist, and they still more or less kind of work. They severely went downhill from how they used to be back in their heyday. When I first started using those apps, it was like you could just make like 10 friends in a day because everyone used it. They had so many features. They were really easy to use. Even though the apps were buggy and didn't really work right, you could have lots of people on it. But they started doing this thing, which I'm not going to say the word for it because it's not a nice word, but they started doing this thing where they take away a lot of your features and increase the price for it. And you know what I'm talking about when apps do that kind of thing these days. HelloTalk and Tandem, that's what they were doing. And as a result, I believe they lost a lot of their users, or maybe users moved just to other platforms. But nowadays, there are fewer people than there used to be on there. But they still do kind of work, so I still recommend them. I mean, if there's anything good, I'll still recommend it to you, regardless of that. So yeah, go online, make Korean friends, tell them you're learning Korean, let them practice a little bit of English with you. But preferably you want to find people that actually don't want to practice their English, so that way you can practice Korean with them and then actually just become their friends and talk with them in Korean. That's going to be the best method. I saw ATs in LA in July. Nice. Hey, Hopegate. No, not his podcast. Yeah, I know. He has a couple channels. Hilda, people aren't that kind anymore. Many scams and fakes. No, yes and no. There actually were a lot of the same things at that time as well. It's just that there were so many real users that were active that it wasn't really as big of an issue. So I think now you might be noticing them more. I met people from Tandem in Korea in real life. It works all right. Yeah, me too. I met a few friends from, actually one of my oldest Korean friends I also met. I believe we met on HelloTalk. I'd have to check because I don't have their information anymore. They've been in several of my videos. I met several friends. Agreed, but they added voice chat rooms, and that's pretty convenient. That's right. Yeah, they did add voice chat rooms. Nastaria, welcome. Did you listen to Didi or All Things Korean podcast? Yeah. Again, Fisho, please check out that podcast video that I made. I already answered those questions in that video. Hilda says maybe Tandem is better. Originally, the way it worked was HelloTalk was better. Tandem came out, but HelloTalk was still better, but Tandem was not much cleaner interface with more features. You could actually see people's photos, whereas in HelloTalk you couldn't. It was like a tiny profile picture you could never see. So Tandem had some nice features, but Tandem really quickly shut down their cool features and they paywalled them right away. Whereas HelloTalk was still available. HelloTalk started going down the same route, and Tandem never hit the membership numbers of HelloTalk. This is my opinion based on what it felt like using both apps. So I don't know. Nowadays, I would say they're pretty similar. HelloTalk still seems to have more users. Tandem still seems to be a nicer interface, but I mean, I don't know, because in the beginning, Tandem had just some horrible bugs where it would just delete your messages, send messages like 10 times, duplicate users. Like it still does that. I believe the last time I checked, when you're scrolling through user list, it'll still duplicate users over and over and over again. So it looks like you're scrolling and there are hundreds of users, but it's actually the same like 20 users repeated over and over and over again. So I don't know if that's a bug or if that's intentional, but it feels weird. Lala says, I used HelloTalk, but unfortunately I only got messages from guys and they became creepy really fast. Well, I'll tell you this. Every app where you meet someone for languages, for hobbies, anything, every app at its core, it could be like a users over 70 sewing club app. Any app, doesn't matter. At its core becomes a dating app. This is what happens. This is a fundamental law of the universe. It's kind of like gravity, physics, gravity, all that stuff is that apps are where you meet other people are all fundamentally just dating apps. So HelloTalk and Tandem are no different in that regard. There are people there that are legitimately just looking for learning languages that end up finding someone that they like and dating them. Cool. There are other people who are just only there for language and they don't want to meet another person to date, and they're on there as well. So if you find someone that seems a little bit like, oh, this person's looking for a date, just block them and move on. It's fine. Like they just exist. If you are looking for someone on those apps, cool, but be upfront about it at least so you don't bother users, making them think that you're like going to help them with their English or with their Korean or whatever. And then you be like, oh, I'm actually just looking for a date. So just be upfront about what you're looking for. And I think that's going to give you a better experience. Put it in your profile, what you're looking for. If you're only looking for like language exchange partners, just put that in your profile. If you're actually fine with, oh, I want a language exchange partner, but it's okay if you're really attractive, leave it. Just don't say that. Just leave your profile normal. Use it the way you want, but just understand that that's not a unforgivable flaw of the app, is what I'm going to say. That it's just going to exist, and you can still find users who will match with what you want, regardless of the fact that there are going to be a lot of users who don't. Hope Gate says, could you explain Panida? Yeah, actually, I have Panida was going to be one of the topics that I was going to do for a live stream. I don't think I added it to this vote, but I might have had it set up in my list of, I think it's set up in my list of future topics. I don't know where it is in there, but yeah, I don't have a lesson ready to go for it. So it is going to be one of the live streams though someday. But it's like a situation of something, like something's going to happen to you. I'm asking if you listen to them personally. I don't listen to podcasts for Korean learners because they're for beginning learners. So the stuff I listen to is just content made for native speakers. Sounds like it's time for a new app to come around. Well, the problem isn't the app being old or new. The issue is you need an app where there are actually Korean users. Again, for a Korean language exchange app, you need an app that actually can attract those Koreans. How do you attract Koreans to come to a language exchange app? It has to be, you have to advertise it in Korea. And what are they looking for? They're looking for free English lessons. They're not going to come to become a free Korean tutor for a foreigner. No, they want free English lessons. That's why they're on the app. So it has to look good to them. Or they want a foreigner that they can date. It's one of those two things. Like, why would they sign up for a language exchange app if there's nothing that they get out of it? So how do you advertise that? You need to have a lot of users on both ends, in Korea and in other countries. So it's hard to set up the app and get enough people to use it in the first place. And there are already tons of apps that could be the next HelloTalk or Tandem or whatever that just aren't able to get the user numbers to do something like that. So it's kind of complicated. It's not just like I can say, hey, let's make an app and we'll fix the problem. We'll do it better. But you got to have the users to come to your app as well. John Z has a good question, though I wouldn't be able to answer it before we start the lesson because it's at the top. I'm going to start in just a minute. I only use voice rooms now. Bypasses the whole process of trying to text various people. That could work too. Okay, last question. Do you recommend calling Koreans online to practice speaking? If you're scared of that, maybe don't. You don't need to force yourself necessarily to do something like that if you don't want to. I personally don't like calling. I just don't like calling people on the phone. I much prefer meeting people in person. So I would rather just meet and talk with someone. Nastaria says, there's a Korean language exchange server I joined, and part of the description explicitly says it's not a dating. Even though it might say it's not a dating app, I guarantee you there are people there that are successfully using it for dating. It's just a thing. It's just a one of those, like I said, one of those laws of the universe that every app at its core becomes a dating app. But like I said, you have to be honest and upfront about what you want and tell them directly when you're talking with someone, like make it clear in your profile. You don't want any dating. When they start talking with you, if the conversation is not what you want to talk about, just be clear. Hey, I'm not looking for that. They'll block themselves. They won't bother you as much. So that's the only advice I can give you. Keep trying is also what I'll say, is because in the early days of HelloTalk, I would message dozens and dozens of people and would make no friends. But then you meet that one person that you kind of vibe with and you're cool with. You're like, okay. And it kind of makes the going through all of that wasted time to make that friend. It makes it worth it when you actually have a couple friends that you did make. And I do still have a few friends that I made like now over 10 years ago on HelloTalk. I have 2 come to mind right away. There might have been more. Not that as far as who people I actually still talk with on a regular basis. And it makes it all worth it. So it's like, yeah, I talked with, a couple hundred people to meet these 2 people, but it was worth it. Hey, Kai. Thank you, Kai. See, every time Kai says top of the hour, I always think of Kai saying it in a British accent. Top of the hour to you, governor. Sorry. I know actually people from London don't speak like that, but I'm not from London. Brian, NYC. Thank you, Brian. These donations also are reminders that I need to start the lesson right now. Okay. Yes, so thank you both to Kai and Brian as well for being our first sponsors of the stream. Let's get started. Someone said they found their girlfriend on Tandem. Wow, okay. Congratulations. That happens more than you would think. Okay. Oh, and one more quick announcement. There is no live class. I shouldn't say this. There is no planned lesson for next Sunday, but I will try to do a live stream related to Korean practice. So even if you're beginner or intermediate, next Sunday's lesson will also be for you. It just won't be a regular planned lesson like we're having today and most Sundays. Okay. I got a new pen today. I want to try it out. It's red. Can we see that? Kind of. Let's see. It works okay. It's kind of thin. We're going to be learning about a older grammar form that's still in use today in some specific cases, and it's used for making assumptions and guesses about the future. First, let's learn how to make it, and then I'll talk about how it's used and what it is. So to make it, you take a verb stem. So for example, if you have the verb hada, any verb stem is just whatever the base form is, like this. You just remove the ta and you're done. You should already know what the verb stem is, but just in case you're watching and you're a beginner and you just learned the alphabet and you're like, I don't know what's going on, at least you can kind of follow along, right? Okay. And then if that verb stem ends with a consonant, you attach 리라고, or if it ends in a vowel, you just attach 리라고. Now, there is an exception if that verb stem, for example, the verb 살다, to live, if that verb stem ends with this letter, lir, then you're actually going to attach 리라고 as well. Even though this is technically a consonant, you'll still do that too. So that's the only exception for this form. Otherwise, it's 으리라고 after a consonant or 리라고 after a vowel. Okay, I'll leave this just for a second. Ministry of Music Yoon said, are voice rooms good and safe? I think they would be, because you're not going to be by yourself one-on-one with a person. It's usually like several people in the voice room. I think so. Yeah, there are weirdos in voice rooms you can just leave. That's true. Kenneth, new pen. Yeah, I'm not going to use this for writing anyone's names, but for grammar, it's okay. Okay, so what is this form? I'm going to make this form so easy that a beginner is going to understand it, even though this form's more intermediate level. This 으리라고 form is basically this same thing. Now, you might be wondering, what is this? Is this the object marker? No, this isn't the object marker. This is a verb ending that gets added when you're going to be doing something talking about the future tense. When you're talking about the future tense, whether with any type of verb, action verb or descriptive verb. So this is something that you add to the end of verbs that means the verb is in the future tense. And you've seen this before in the regular 것이다 form. The future tense 것이다 form, right? When you say something like 할 거야, 내가 할 거야, I will do it, or 내가 할 거예요, or 제가 하겠습니다. Sorry, not 제가 하겠습니다, kind of, but anyway, 제가 할 거예요, like that. I will do it. This 할 거예요. This is the future tense form. This 으리라고 is essentially this part here, the future part of that form when you say you're going to do something. In fact, here's a pro tip. Anytime you see a verb that ends with this or a lir, you can know it has something to do with that same future form. That's basically a shortened version of the future form by itself. I have something else to say in just a moment. I want to leave this up just so you can write it, but we're going to go a little further to make it even cooler. Yeah, someone's asking about reo. That's reported speech. So not necessarily reported speech, but it's actually just a shortened version of 라고 해요. So someone says something. So you might think of this as translating more naturally as like, I heard that, or they say, but literally it means someone says. They say, like that. 리라고 is just fun to say. It is kind of fun to say, 리라고. Okay. And specifically, the future tense meaning comes from this part. 으리, So in fact, that little ending is the same thing. This is an archaic version, meaning older, no longer used, version of this. This is what it originally would be. Now, if you are advanced, then I have another note to give you. If you're beginner, you don't really need to care about this. But if you're advanced, this 으리라고, where did it come from? So I said that is from this or this. Well, where'd the 라고 part come from? This is actually a quoting form, and it's not an exception or anything. This is a standard quoting form, like when you use the verb 이다 to become 이라고, or 아니다 to become 아니라고, or like 하다 to become 한다고, you know, like that sort of regular quoting form. This is a regular quoting form, but then what's the verb that the quoting form is being attached to? This is originally the archaic verb 으리다. 으리다 is the original archaic form for talking about future tense. So this is equivalent today in modern Korean usage of like the 겠다 ending. Like 하겠습니다, 하겠어요, like that. 그렇겠네요. Something will be, or something it must be, it would be, right? You're saying something will happen, or that you're assuming it will happen like that. So you're making an assumption or a guess about something. Originally, the verb was 으리다. So when you take 으리다, just like 이다 for to be becomes 이라고, you get 으리라고. That's all it is. So in case you're wondering if you're like a, advanced learner, that's where it comes from. So 으리라고, we just said, is a quoting form. That means it's going to be used with a verb that talks about quoting, because you are, quote, something will be, right? Just like a quoting form. You can think of this as kind of like, the equivalent of like saying, this is kind of like saying like 한다고 생각해요, or 한다고 말했어요, or 한다고 했어요. Anything like that is a quoting form, right? So 한다고, someone does something, quote. Someone will do something or will be something, quote. And then it's going to be followed with a verb, but it's the same way as that. It's just a regular quoting form that means something will be a certain way. Okay. So this form essentially is 겠다. So as a quoting form, 겠다고. And it's used for making assumptions or guesses about something that will happen in the future or would happen, right? So it's used for making an assumption of something. So if you have a verb stem, like let's just do 하다 because it's simple. 하리라고. Something will 하다, to do, will do something. Or maybe you're going to use the verb like 좋다, to be good. 좋으리라고. Something will be good, I assume, or I guess. And then you'll follow it with a verb, like I think that something will be good, or I believe that something will be good, right? 되다. Actually, let me give you a second to process that before we just go on. And let me give you some translations for this. Oops, whatever. Okay, that's legible. This is kind of like saying something likely would or likely will be or surely or definitely will be or definitely would be, like that. But really it's just saying something will be or would be, but it's for making your assumption or your guess about something that's going to be in the future tense. So it's for making an assumption or a guess about something that'll happen in the future, and you can think of it as meaning likely, surely, or definitely will be or would be or do something. I'm going to simplify this a little bit more as well. Hopefully you understand it if you're at least at like the high beginner level, but I'm going to simplify it a little bit more for you as well in just a second. Let's check the chat for a second. Oh, Deus Ex Machina. We're going to talk about that in a second. Keith, actually, not quite. Okay. Now, you'll notice that not only is in parentheses because you might or might not add it, but ko is also in parentheses. Why? Because it's also optional. You can write urira or urirago. What's the difference? As far as meaning, nothing. But it adds more emphasis. So you're probably going to see it most of the time. But you can see something with urira verb or urirago verb, and it's the same exact meaning. Just urirago has more emphasis. And it's not the only form that adds ko optionally. One that comes to mind right away is torago. Toragoyo. You can add torago or toragoyo. They're both the same. You'll hear tora sounds a little bit standard, but it's casual. Keep in mind that it's only casual if you say tora. Torago just sounds a little bit more like emphatic, but it's not a huge difference. There's not a big difference between using it and not. That's it. Okay, so there is a very simple way that you can translate this form. Apologies if it's a little small. You can also just translate this form as 겠다고. Something will be used in a quoting form, or 것이라고 or 거라고 for short. So 할 거라고 생각했어요. I thought you would do it, or someone would do it. 하겠다고 생각했어요. I thought someone would or will do it. 하겠다고 생각했어요. It's the same form. 하리라고 생각했어요. It's the same exact thing. But this form, like I said, is archaic. It's an older form of these modern forms today. But the meaning is the exact same. So, what's the difference between using 으리라고 and using 거라고 or 겠다고? As far as meaning goes, nothing. However, this form, 으리라고, sounds a little bit fancy. Like you're putting your pinky up while you're drinking, you know? It's the same thing. It doesn't get the drink into your mouth any better or make it taste better, but it looks fancy, right? That's the difference. That's what this does when you use it. And that's why you still will hear this used today. Oh, hold on. I got a donation. Nastaria. Nastaria, happy quarter of the hour. Thank you. The next donation will go to the caviar fund. I know you donated toward the caviar fund as well last time. I have enough to buy a cheap can of caviar already. Is there, Nastaria, do you have a recommended type of caviar that I should buy? That's the question. You could pick, because I don't know much about caviar. I've only tried like pretty cheap caviar before. And once I had like kind of okay caviar before, but I don't know what it was. So all I know is like the cheap stuff. Jake says 느라고. Yes, same thing as far as ko. But note, just like with torago or whatever, if you remove the ko, you can no longer add yo to the end to make it polite. So you can have 느라고 or 느라고요, but you can only have 느라. You can't have 느라요. So just keep that in mind. When you remove the ko, you're removing the option to make it polite. And Deus Ex is asking, is 겠다고 like what most people say normally? Yes. 것이라고, well, most people would actually say 거라고. 거라고 or 겠다고 are what people would say. And normally, most of the time. I don't know much about caviar either. Well, great. What am I supposed to do when I go to the grocery store and the caviar aisle, right? Because we all have a caviar aisle in our grocery store. There's just like this 2 long aisles filled with caviar. Giant fridges just filled to the brim with all these different types of caviar right next to the milk and eggs and bread, right? I take it back. Maybe the eggs, because those are also very expensive. I don't know. Pretty soon, maybe regular eggs are going to be like caviar prices. There's just big caviar, right? Technically, isn't everything a caviar when you look at it close enough? Okay, so 우리라고 is more fancy than this. So let me give you some examples of how you might use this. As I mentioned, it's a quoting form, just like 겠다고 or 할 거라고, something like that. How do you use those forms? Like, if I'm going to say the verb is 가다, to go. So, quote, I will go. 저는 가겠다고 했어요. I said, right? Or maybe 생각했어요. 철수도 가겠다고 생각했어요. I thought 철수 would go too. Or 철수 갈 거라고 생각했어요. I thought he will go. Both are the same overall. What do you add to the end of this? How do you use this in a sentence? It's the exact same thing. As I just said, it's the exact same thing, so you would use these same verbs. What are some verbs that you could use with quoting? Can you give me some examples? Give me some verbs. I'll write a bunch of them up. I just want to see, what do you already know? Give me some examples. Give me a couple verbs you might use with quotes. There are a lot of them, but yeah. I do love a caviar omelet. Oh, that sounds good. You know, I have I can make really legitimate omelets. I got a recipe from, there's like this famous French cook that made a YouTube video I saw like, I don't know, 15 years or so ago, how to make French omelets. Like you crack the egg in and then you turn off the flame and you use the hot pan, you know, to cook it and everything. So I have the recipe. I can make a good omelet, but caviar, that sounds fantastic. Caviar omelet. Then I'll start an egg fund. From tiny to large. The biggest eggs would that be ostrich eggs? Or emu or something like that? One of those? Saw a sale on caviar at Costco. Oh my goodness. I need to get a Costco membership. Because I don't have a Costco membership right now. Chicken eggs are just big. Yeah, they're just big caviar. Prove me wrong. Bagel and cream cheese with caviar. Yeah, that sounds good too. I mean, normally you do it with capers. So caviar would totally work. I can't see why it wouldn't work. I would get some lox on there as well, though. I wouldn't just do cream cheese and caviar. I would do cream cheese, lox, but really thin lox so it doesn't distract too much from the caviar. I think would work good. With just a little thin amount of lox and then some caviar in there. No onions or anything else, nothing else, just as it is. And do it open face. So just half of the bagel. That way you can really taste the caviar. That's what I would do. 먹다. Not 먹다. Remember, this is going to be a quote. But you could do 마음 먹다 to make up your mind. 소리치다. Nasteria. Technically, yes, but you wouldn't do it like that. So we'll talk about that. 생각하다. Yeah, Maddie. Oh yeah, okay. Ministry, if you don't know the verbs, don't worry about it. I'll give you them. 추측하다. not 놓치다. 놓치다 is to miss something, like you missed an appointment or you missed an opportunity or you missed the bus. That's 놓치다. So you wouldn't miss that you will do something, since, right? I mean, you could stick them together, but that's what it would sound like. It wouldn't make sense grammatically. 하다, yeah, 하다 for 말하다. Lady Natbug, perfect. Okay, so let me give you some verbs. And you'll probably want to write these down because these are going to be really commonly used with this, and it's not every verb that you'll see it with. Let's see, is this still? I'm already going off the page. I'm gonna have to go up here for the other couple. Oh, there's only one more. Okay, I ran out of space, so I wrote the last one up there. 생각하다, to think. So you think that someone or something will do or will be something. So I thought that you would go. I thought that it would be cold. I thought that would be a good idea. Like that, just like a regular quoting form. 할 거라고, thought someone will. 생각했어요. I thought someone would do that. Or 그럴 거라고 생각했어요. I thought something would be a certain way. 믿다, same thing, but now instead of thinking it, you're believing it. You're trusting it. 마음 먹다, which is literally to eat your heart, but it's to make up your mind. So it's basically to decide. So I made a decision to do something. 결심하다 also is the same meaning, but this is more like to determine. I determined to do something. 말하다, I said that something will happen or will be, or I will do something like that. And 예상하다, which would be to predict something or to expect. So I expected that. And finally, 다짐하다. 다짐하다 would be like to promise, like to pledge. It's kind of a fancy word. So I made a pledge to do something, right? These are the most common verbs you're going to see it with. Not all of them, but are the most common. So write these down. These are the most common ones that you're going to see this form used with. I'll leave this up for a minute. And then that is everything you need to know about this form. So then we're going to go right into some examples. Hilda says, find Korean churches in your cities and Koreatown is free and much better than apps to make real friends. I'm going to say if you are a religious person, that's going to be a great example. Great thing you should do. If you're not, I would say, please don't just go to a Korean church or any church randomly to learn a language because you don't know what that is going to entail. It could just be a fun community, or they could be kind of a weird religion. Korea's got a lot of those. Not to say US doesn't as well, but especially there are a lot in Korea. So be careful which one. But as far as community, a lot of Koreans will use church as kind of like a community center. So yes, in that regard. Koreatown is free. Yes, that's true, though I don't know if you're going to make many friends by walking around in Koreatown. You have to be a bit creative to do that. But it does mean you'll have a lot of access to possible people who live in the area that maybe you can find someone on an app and they happen to live in the same area as you because there's a Korean town, some sort of Korean community by where you live. Midzi says, am I too late for the explanation? I just finished. But you can scroll back and rewatch it again. But for the sentences, we haven't started those yet. Wait, does quoting mean something different in Korean grammar? Oh, Ministry of Music Yoon. If you haven't yet learned quoting, don't worry. Don't stress yourself out about this. This is like the expert level version of quoting forms. So if you haven't learned regular quoting forms, don't beat yourself up if you don't know this one. But basically, it would be something like, in English, we might say that. Like when you think that, say that, expected that. that sort of that, but when it has to do, not just with every usage of that in English, but when it's something to do with something you can put quotes around. So what it was that I expected was, if you can put quotes around something and then express in words what that quote was, that's a quoting form. So in Korean, they do it with things like this. There's some other things too, like I screamed, quote unquote. This is what I screamed. Or I asked someone, quote unquote. That's quoting. I thought, believed, decided, said, expected, promised. All of those are quoting. So that's any sort of quoting form. And this is not the first quoting form you should be learning as a beginner. You want to know the regular one, which also ends with ku, but you'll want to know the regular one before you jump into this one, because they mean the exact same thing. Oh, this is 예상하다, not 요상하다. I don't know. Do I need to extend this? I thought it looks okay. This line is a little bit crooked, but I can't really do too much about that. My writing's not good in either language. Okay. So let's do some example sentences. I promise you, this form is not difficult as long as you're already familiar with regular quoting. In fact, you don't even need to be familiar with all of the types of regular quoting. Just quoting statements is enough, because that's all this form can do. This form is only used for quoting statements. So keep in mind, this form is only going to be used for quoting a statement. So it's not going to be used for quoting like, I said, do it, or I said, let's do that, or I said, is it, when you ask a question, or I asked, is something that way, for asking questions. It's only used for statements, which is I thought or expected or promised or said something that is a certain way. In this case, it's future statements. So I said something will be. I believe something will be or would be, like that. Flo Purdy! I just looked at the chat, saw your donation as it popped up. Thank you so much. Bottom of the hour. Bottom of the hour to ya. Sho Tae Min Tol. I can't read your name. I apologize. Your videos really helped me when I was first starting learning Korean. I've gotten so much better at reading and pronunciation. Nice. Have I done a lesson on basic quoting forms? Oh, yes. Tons. Don't worry. There are tons of lessons I have on basic quoting forms. Okay. Let's do a really short sentence. I think this pen is on its way out. It writes, but you just can't see it. Let me see if it's possible. I'll put it up here somewhere. Just gonna leave it to sit upright to see if I can get the ink to come back, but I don't know. That pen might be going out. Okay. Let's just do harira. Okay, first sentence. 혼자서도 harira 믿어요. So 혼자 is alone, as in by yourself without any help. So alone by yourself. 서 is just, you can add it to make it into an adverb, just make it more emphasized. So doing something by yourself. 도, even. So even by yourself. Oh, I'm missing a word. Let me start again. I was like, that doesn't make any sense when I read it back. Okay. 혼자서도. So even is do here. Even is do. do. Okay. 혼자서도. So even 혼자, by yourself without any help, alone. So even doing it alone by yourself. 잘, well, 하다, to do it well. 하리라 믿어요. So I believe that even by yourself, you will, 하리라, do well. You can think of this sentence as meaning I wrote it too close to the edge. 잘 하겠다고 믿어요. The same meaning. So I believe 잘 하겠다고 혼자서도 잘 하겠다고 믿어요. I believe that you will do well. 잘하다, to do something well, by yourself. So even if you're by yourself, I believe that you will do well. I'm sure you'll do well even by yourself. 하겠다고, you could think of it as this. It's the same thing. 혼자서도 잘 하리라 믿어요. But now because you've used 하리라 or 하리라고 instead of 하겠다고, this sentence sounds more fancy. I'm not going to say formal. It's not only used in formal speech. It's used in any kind of speech that sounds kind of fancy, a little bit archaic. Yes, I believe you shall do well even on your own. Kind of like that. It's a little bit fancier and it's a little bit less common because of that. Hey, Mason. Mason. New pen cache. Thank you. I have a few more pens actually, but I don't have another brown pen. I don't have another green pen or blue pen. Like I only have one color, one of each color in the pack that I bought, but I appreciate it. I will get some new pens as soon as I finish using the ones that I have here. Yeah, the new pen, you know, it lasted a while. The brown one, we got a lot of use. I did several streams with it, but it seems like it's running low. Maybe it's just getting a little dry. Let's see, It is kind of empty though. Normally if I do this, I can see, like, for example, in the red one, if I hold it upside down, I can see that it's full. Like I can't even see through it. Let me check the blue one. Yeah, I can see like the ink kind of in here for the blue one, but the brown one, I just see clear. It's nothing. I think it's empty. That's why. Okay. Let's do another one. What I'm wondering is, out of my sentences, is there one that I can give you guys to do by yourself? Let me think. Yeah, I think so. I decided, I want you to make this sentence. So, 마음 먹다 is an idiomatic expression that means to make a decision, to decide to do something. You can think of it as being equivalent to in English saying, make up your mind to do something. So I made up my mind to... The next sentence, it'll be hard to get the exact translation, but you can still do it. So I decided, so I made up my mind to, that I will not call again. 다시 would be again. And to call is 전화하다. 전화하다. Or 전화를 하다. Either one. 전화하다. So I decided that I will or would not call. So you're going to use negative, not call again. Try to make the sentence. It's okay if you don't get the exact sentence, but if it helps you, think of the sentence as the other forms that I gave you, the standard 하겠다고 or whatever, or 것이다. Either of those, and then just swap it with this form, and you're going to have a good sentence. Hey, Hope Gate! Hope G. I'll just write Hope G. Okay, I'll write Hope Gate. Hope G. I was gonna do the donation 20 minutes in, but then I got absorbed by the grammar that I forgot. Well, that's good. I'll take that as a compliment that you got absorbed in the grammar. Sure. Thank you, Hope Gate. As well as Mason, again, for the pen cache. Okay, let's see. Chadrak Buasa says, I'm learning Korean and I can have a small conversation with someone because I watch every day your 100 videos you made. Nice. Do you watch all 100 videos every single day? That's like 13, 14 hours a day. That's real determination. I know it would be possible to. I actually thought about putting all 100 videos together in one video, but it would be too long to upload because I think YouTube's limit is like 10 hours per video. But if I uploaded it, it would be something like, I think it was like 13 something hours, almost 14 hours for the entire series. So I decided not to do that. How do I donate? I think there's a, there should be a button like super chat or something. There should be some button in there. I don't know. I know there is in the US, unless you're in another country that doesn't have the button. Okay. Keith has an attempt. 다시 전화를 안 하리라. Oh, you wrote on. Yeah, you fixed it. 안 하리라고 마음 먹었어요. Okay. Any other attempts? But good job, Keith. To the right of the emoji button. Yeah, I don't have it on mobile, so I can't see. On my desktop though, yeah, it's right to the right of the emoji button. There's like a cash button. Click the money sign. Nice. 다시 전화 안 하리라고 마음먹었어요. 저는 마음먹으리라고. So, dui, what you wrote is a grammatically correct sentence, but what you wrote is, so here we have at the end, 전화할 거예요. So I will call. Ignoring the on here, if you meant to say, I decided that I will call, then you need to put the calling part with 으리라고, since that's what you're doing. Remember, the 으리라 is the quoting part. So what is it that you decided that? Did you call that you will decide? No, you decided that you will call. So you need to switch the verbs that you're using. Sorry, switch the order. So use the other verb with 으리라고 and the other one at the end of the sentence. Decided not to call. Okay, 30 seconds more, then I'm going to give you the answer. Just write this. Go ahead and write it down. 마음 먹었어요. Almost. Okay, we can do that. Hey, Ministry of Mig. Nice. You found the button. Thank you, Ministry. Let's see. Ministry of Music. Let's write mom. Ministry of Music, you're going to be mom with a Y, so mommy. Thanks, mommy. Appreciate it. 안 가리라고 맘 먹었어요. 하지 않을 것이라고. So it doesn't go after the future. So Kayla, what you had written actually is a double quoting, because the 으리라고 form by itself replaces that the 안을, that at the end of anta, that the end of an in that example, is the future tense. It's the same thing. So it's like 안으리라고, 은이라고 is what you wrote kind of twice. So you only need it once. So you wouldn't say 하지 않을 것이라고. You would just say 안으리라고 as it is, just as one piece. Okay. 다시는. So again, 다시는 topic marker. Here it's actually just being used for adding emphasis to it. So like again, 전화하다, to call, 전화하지 않다, to not call. So 않으리라, in this case, 않으리라고 or 않을 것이라고 or 않을 거라고, like that. 마음 먹었어요. So I decided to, I made up my mind not to, in this case, I made up my mind to not call again. So I decided I will not call again. 다시는 전화하지 않으리라 마음먹었어요. So I made up my mind. I decided I will not 않을 것이라고 or 않을 거라고. Same thing. 다시는 again. So I decided I won't call again. Mommy. I love the new nickname. I'm hoping you can recognize whenever I join you. Of course, Mommy. I can never forget my mommy. Everyone loves their mommy. Yes. That's just the first thing I saw is that's the name. That has to be intentional. Anyway. Okay. Next sentence. Notice how none of these sentences have like 했습니다 or whatever, just to kind of remind you that it's not only used in formal speech, it's really to any level of speech. You can even see it in casual speech. It just has a fancy feel. 물 분필. 분필 is chalk. 물 is water, so water chalk. This is like chalk that uses water in it. I've never used it, but this person has. 물 분필은, so as for water chalk, 두 번 다시. Literally 두 번 is 2 times. 다시 is again, so 2 times again. But this is how you say not even once more in a negative usage. So as in, it's more emphasis than just saying again, like 쓰지 않다, to not use. So here it's I will not use it. 결심하다. 결심하다 is to decide. So I decided or I determined I will not use it. 두 번 다시, 2 times again, which is how you would say even once more. Like there won't be a second time is what it means. 두 번 다시 쓰지 않으리라 결심했어요. So I decided I won't use water chalk again, ever again. I've never used it before. Has anyone used it? Is it bad? Is it that bad? If I use the topic marker, would mine have been acceptable? Let me see. 다시 전화 안 하리라고 봐. Yeah. You don't need the topic marker. It's just used for that extra emphasis. So yeah, you're fine. But a Korean might have seen the sentence and been like, oh, it's kind of missing adding an extra emphasis for 다시 because it doesn't add. It's like, why are you saying I will not use it again? You're trying to say I won't use it again, in which case the topic marker can give your sentence kind of a nice, more natural nuance. Yeah, if you search water chalk, it's kind of like, it's got chalk with water in it, if that helps. Hopefully I cleared that up for everyone. So yeah, 물 분필은 두 번 다시 쓰지 않으리라 결심했어요. So 쓰지 않을 거라고 결심했어요. I decided that I would not use it again. And there are more sentences on the worksheet as well. I just picked some of these out because they are easier to kind of understand the grammar that's going on. But in the worksheet, there are going to be longer sentences that are harder to translate and take more thinking. So if you feel like these sentences are like too basic, check out the worksheet on my Patreon page where you can get like an extra 6 sentences to practice with. Okay, let's do this one. That's a little messy. 혼자서 Okay, this is a little bit longer sentence, so we'll spend a little bit extra time to break this down. 그것을 혼자서, again, by yourself, alone, without any help. 혼자서 다, all of it, everything, 먹다, to eat. 먹을 수 있다. You can eat all of it. So in this case, 있을 거라고 생각 못했어요. So I didn't think that you could, 먹을 수 있다, eat all of it by yourself. That. So I never could have thought you would be able to eat all of that by yourself is a natural translation, but literally it's 생각 못했어요. I couldn't think is how you say I could never think. You do that by saying I couldn't think. So I couldn't think that you would 있으리라고, ignore the 는 for a second, 다 먹을 수 있으리라고 생각 못했어요. So I didn't think that you would be able to eat all of that by yourself. This 는 here, again, is the topic marker, but it's just being used to add emphasis. So this emphasis, we do this same English, let's say this again. We do this same sort of emphasis in English too, not with an extra word, but with our intonation. So if we're saying, I never thought that you could eat all of that by yourself, you notice how it goes up, thought that. We're emphasizing the word thought. Or we can say, I never thought that you could eat that all by yourself, or I never thought that you could eat that all by yourself, or I never thought that you could eat that by yourself, or I never thought that you could eat that by itself, right? You can do these things in English. You can do them in Korean too with the topic marker. So in this case, it's emphasizing the can. Specifically, it's that, I never thought that you could eat that. I'm trying to think of what would be the specific spot, but it's on the can. So in English, since the emphases don't quite match with English and Korean, since the words we use are different, I'll just say it's on the eat part. Or let me think. Yeah, let's just say it's on the eat part. Keep it simple. So I never thought that you could eat all of that by yourself is kind of the intonation nuance that you get from adding this. So this just adds extra emphasis, in this case, onto 먹을 수 있다. You can eat that. You could have also added on to 수는, like you could, then it would have, I never thought you could eat that. But in this case, since it's on this, it's emphasizing the eat kind of feel. But you don't need to have it if it makes things confusing. You can also remove it. It's the same sentence. 그걸 혼자서 다 먹을 수 있으리라고는 생각 못했어요. So I never could have thought that you could eat all of that by yourself. I'll leave this up for just a second. Ministry. Oh, mommy says, would you recommend studying abroad? Heck yeah. If you can study abroad, do it. That would be incredible. I recommend everyone study abroad if they're able to do it. I wish I could have done it. I mean, I did get to live in Korea, but I never got to like go there and study there and, do that whole experience. That would have been really fun. So yeah, do it. Do it now. Hilda. Hey, Hilda, thank you. Hold on, I barely have enough room here to add Hilda's donation. Hilda O. Thank you, Hilda. Wait, so 은는 doesn't have to be attached to nouns only? That's the secret. You can stick it wherever you want. And that's not just the topic. It's not just this marker. In fact, other particles as well, you'll see can be attached in other places. But in order to avoid confusing you, and because it's not really that important for making basic sentences, usually you don't get taught that, but you'll see it. So yeah, topic marker, I think is the most common one you're going to see that moves around in the sentence. And you can stick it anywhere you want to add more emphasis, but don't ever put it after any sort of verb ending. So like, for example, 먹을, you couldn't put it after here because there's a verb ending, but 수 is a noun. Specifically, it's what's known as a bound noun. It's used as part of something. It's not used by itself. So you could put 는 after here. You could put 는 after here, but it's always going to go at the end of whatever other particle that you have. In this case, 혼자서, it wouldn't be 혼자는서. It would always be 혼자서는. And here, another marker. You can't put 는 after another marker. So you couldn't go 그걸은. That wouldn't make any sense. But you could go 그거는. That's fine. But as soon as you put another marker on here, again, marker would be topic, subject, object, marker, then you can't add that on top of at the end of it. You could add it after an adverb, 다는. Cool. You could add it after this noun, 생각은. But you cannot add it after any sort of auxiliary piece that has to be used. Let me think if I can say that. You can't add it after 못. Let's just say like that. You'll see which types of things it gets added and doesn't get added. But generally, any noun and any bound noun, so any piece like this also work. And then after any sort of noun with a conjugated verb here, or any other conjugations as well, that are also okay. Okay. I have 2 more sentences, and then we have another thing to talk about for this form. Okay, 손님, customer or guest. 손님이 이렇게 많이, this much. 오다, to come here. 올 것이라고, 오리라고는. So as for this many customers coming here, 예상하다 is to, what's the word? To predict or to expect. 못했어요. So I couldn't predict. I couldn't expect, as in I never would have expected that so many or this many customers would come. So I never could have expected that this many customers would come. 손님이 이렇게 많이 오리라고는 예상 못했어요. Again, this 는 is just being used to add emphasis. Like, I never thought that this many customers would come here, is what you get. That extra emphasis of coming here. So I never could have expected that. All right, I'll leave this up for just a minute, and then we'll go on to our last sentence for this. And then I have another thing you have to learn about this form, because we're not done. There's one more usage for this grammar form. Fortunately, it's also pretty easy. Mommy asks, do you have any tips to keep up motivation? Yes, by doing the things that got you interested in Korean in the first place, by doing those things again and again and again. So if you originally got interested in Korean because of K-pop, it's a really rare reason to get interested in Korean, I know, but just pretend that that's a real reason. By going to K-pop concerts, interacting with the members if you can, listening to their songs, watching their live streams, that sort of thing. Anything that you enjoy, because really it comes down to is enjoying anything that's in the language helps you feel again like I really want to learn the language. So whatever way that you first interacted with Korean that made you feel like you want to learn the language, do those sorts of things again. Xandria. Oh, hey, Xandria. Yeah, I was like, where is Xandria? Now you show up. It's okay. You can still learn this form in 1 second. It's the exact same thing as or a lir that you stick on when you're making a coding form, like 할 거라고 or 먹을 거라고. It's the 거라고 part, or 하겠다고. Same thing. Exact same thing used with quoting verbs. There you go. That's your 1 second lesson. There's one more usage that it's also used for, which we'll talk about in a second, but that's what we're talking about right now. That's it. Keith, I'm talking about Ministry of Music to the 7th power Yoon here, okay? Abbreviated as mommy. Nada says, evening, I've been studying for the last 3 months and recently found your YouTube. Nice. How much does YouTube charge for super chats? They take it doesn't matter if it's super chat or my ad revenue or anything. I think they take 40%. But that's okay. Because, I mean, they host these videos. So it's a small price to pay. Actually, it's a really big price to pay, but it is what it is. Angelese or Leese asks, how come these letters, xiot, at the bottom part is sometimes pronounced as a T? Oh, so, good question. Check out these two things I just posted. One is a beginner course that has, the first 10 lessons are just for the alphabet, and I'll teach exactly why. And the second one is a cheat sheet, so you don't have to stress about that lesson that has the sound change rules. There's a sound change rules cheat sheet about all of them. It fits on one page. There's also a verb conjugation cheat sheet with all the verb conjugation rules and exceptions. Every single one, I promise you. This one about all the Korean alphabet, the letters, how to read them and everything. There's a cheat sheet for all the postpositions, dates and seasons, how to tell the, what month it is and count months and everything. The most common markers and particles and how they're used in examples. And then, sound change rules. All the sound change rules fit on one sheet of paper, which is pretty cool. And I'm working on, this is a secret. Okay, don't tell anyone. I'll just tell you because you asked. Don't tell anyone, okay? Just a secret between me and you. I'm working on some more cheat sheets. In fact, I've already finished a couple. But I'm working on some more cheat sheets, so you'll get another few cheat sheets coming out sometime, let's just say next month, just to be safe. Yeah, so just don't tell anyone, okay? I don't want to spoil the announcement yet. I haven't made it. Nastaria says, we're trying to get Billy a Beak sponsorship, or Bic. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I was using Expo, and then, like I said, they kept sending it to me. I don't know if it was the sellers on Amazon or just Expo isn't very good, but they kept sending me boxes that were just dry. Like half the pens are dry. I'm not exaggerating. Like a box of 10 pens, 5 of them would be dry like that, like right out of the box. They'd work for a second, they'd be dry. So I got tired of using them. So I bought this other random pack that's like Bic. It comes with a bunch of colors, and I can see inside clearly how much is left, which is useful. Expo hides it from me. And I also have this other brand called Volcanics, which is just some random, I don't know, maybe it's a real brand, but this also works great. I bought one box of these, and this is my second one, I think, or my third one out of an entire box that I bought like 5 or 6 years ago. So these are great. These are great. So I might start using these instead of Expo. Yingrid Mellow. I don't know what that is. Let me check. What is R? Is that the Brazilian real? Braze? Brazilian something. Cool. I think that's like $1. Thank you. I'm going to have to look at the chat to spell your name. G-R-I-D. Ingrid. Thank you. Sorry I can't pronounce your name correctly. I appreciate it. What do you do when they dry? Well, I always keep the caps on, so I haven't had them drying out. But I tried to bring the dried ones back to life. That I said I opened the pen and it was already dry out of the box. I tried to bring them back by, someone said like you can put them in rubbing alcohol, leave them in there, and then they kind of suck it back up. So I did that. It didn't work. All it did was make the cup filled with this ink, like the colored ink mixed with rubbing alcohol, but the pens were still dead. I think it brought them back for like a second, and then they immediately dried out again. So I think it was just the pens were bad. Or I did the rejuvenation, bringing it back to life incorrectly. Could be that too. But either way, I shouldn't have to do that when I buy brand new pens that are, at that point, I think the box was only a year old. So they shouldn't have all dried out in a year. So considering this is like 6 years old since I bought her, 5 years old, and it still works fine. this is our last sentence for this form, and then we're going to talk about one more usage of this form. And I have one more example sentence that you'll see. Okay. 그렇게 하면. So if you do that, literally if you do it like that. So if you do that, 내가 모르다, to not know. 내가 모를 거라고 생각했어? Did you think that I wouldn't know? 내가 모르리 생각한 거야? Did you think? 생각한 거야? 생각했어? Same thing. 생각한 거야? Did you think that? 모르리다. 모를 것이다. 모르겠다고. Did you think that I would not know if you do that? Do you think I wouldn't know if you do that? 그렇게 하면 내가 모르리라 생각한 거. I'm like, my voice is all messing up, but you know what I'm talking about. 그렇게 하면 내가 모르리라 생각한 거야? If you do that, did you think I won't know? Or do you think I wouldn't notice? That sort of meaning. 그렇게 하면 내가 모르리라 생각한 거야? I'll leave this up for just a minute, and then we'll go to the next usage of this form. The Pilot V-board markers that reload from the back are great. Oh, I've never heard of that. Are those, they're cool? Pilot V-board, I'm gonna look that up right now. Okay, I'll save that for later and check it out. Though it's not, I guess if I can reload it, that could be kind of cool. I also want to get markers that are a little thicker. That's the only thing I don't like about these new ones, the Beak ones, is that the lines are thinner. That even though they're both the bullet tip, which is what I use, these ones are thinner than the Expo ones. The Expo ones make really nice thick lines when they work. And that's what I like. That's why I kept using the Expo, because it's really easy to read. These ones I have to push a little harder because they're thinner lines. So I wish that there was something in between, like something that's thick lines but didn't die and wasn't dry out of the box. So maybe the refillable ones could be a good idea. Pilot V-board markers. If they're not too expensive, then maybe I could try that after I finish using these ones I have. No school till February 3rd, so I don't have to mute this class. Nice. Are we gonna get some lunar New Year related vocab? Not really, just 새해 복 많이 받으세요. That's pretty much it. Happy New Year. That's all you need to know. The food people eat, you can have 떡국 for New Year's, but there's not really too much. Ministry of Music Yoon asks, I don't know if you prefer that or you prefer mommy. How difficult would it be to be a music producer in Korea? Very difficult. But if you are talented, Korean music artists use foreign producers all the time. So if you're wondering if it happens, yeah. Oh yeah. They're like, look up your favorite groups. Look up the producers of your favorite groups. You'll find foreign names all over the place, because it's not like they only hire Koreans to make choreography. They only hire Koreans to do the music videos. They only hire Koreans to make the music. No, they hire foreigners. When I say foreigners, I mean, in their view, people not from Korea all the time. So you'll find lots of non-Korean music producers in Korean songs that you like, and your favorite groups have non-Korean music producers a lot. So yeah, the key there, as I mentioned, is you have to be skilled at doing it. So you need to have something that they need, a certain sound that they want. Maybe you live in Korea and you're a really good music producer. Then that's good for them, because then they can directly meet with you and have you put the voices in and everything with them. You know, you would have the music group would come over to your private home studio, record the song, and you would mix it right then with them, together with them, and get their feedback. Yeah, totally. Easy? No, I don't think so. I think it would be extremely hard to do. Because yeah, you'd have to have experience doing that in the first place with other groups. So you have to know the process really well and be able to work well with their schedule and what they want. The V-boards have a thick chisel tip. I'm not a big fan of the chisel tip though, because it ends up making like really thick and thin lines. I don't like the thin side. The thick side's okay, but the thin side's weird. That's why I prefer the bullet tip, because it makes even lines no matter what angle I'm holding the pen. I don't want a chisel tip. If they have a bullet tip, I might try that though. So it'd be possible to make a living in Korea as a music producer. Sure, possible, yes. I just need to work really. It's not always about working hard when it comes to learning Korean or being a music producer. It's about working smart, because you could work really hard to learn Korean and not learn Korean if you're not doing the right things. And someone else that's really lazy can learn Korean really fast if they are doing the right things for learning. So I'm not going to say it's just work really hard and you'll be a producer in Korea. It's know the right people, make the right type of music that they want, be really skilled at it. So practice by doing it a lot. And then, yeah, just being at the right place at the right time, like knowing other people in the industry, attending meetings. Koreans are really big on... So erase this here. Koreans are really big on something known as inmek. Now, it's not a really fancy word. Inmek is just any sort of like connection. Any sort of connections. We would just say connections, right? If that person is well connected. Like, who do you know? Who do they know? Because in Korea, it's more common you're going to meet someone by being like introduced to them, especially for business. You're going to be like, hey, this is my friend. They do this. Oh, nice to meet you. I know now you are this person's friend who I trust. I want to work with you. It's that sort of thing. So in Korea, it's also really strong. So if you meet the right people, you go to the right meetings, you hang out with the right crowd, you know, you get noticed by the right people, and then they introduce you to people who you can work with, and you have a nice portfolio to show them. That's how you're going to get the job. It's not necessarily that you are staying at home and studying as hard as possible and getting as good at the programs as possible. It's also just this. In Korean too. If you have Korean friends, you have a way to practice it, you're going to get good at Korean faster. The guy who gets thrown into an apartment with 2 Korean roommates who don't speak English, who's lazy and just stays home all day, is going to speak Korean faster than you, who's in the US just studying with books. And that's just the reality, because that person's able to learn more smartly, better, because they have all that practice and exposure. And then they only need to do a little bit of grammar here and there when they want to, you know, advance their own Korean to be able to express themselves better. So yeah, we have to work a lot harder when we don't have these nice opportunities to live in Korea. But you can still definitely get it outside of Korea. It just takes more targeted studying. So you can't just say, well, I'm just going to buy every book there is. I'm just going to do tutoring. Like, that's not going to be the best option. You want to have resources like books and stuff and lessons that you use for referencing, that you can use to kind of guide you. But everything on top of that, you need to be putting as much other stuff as possible. And this is going to depend on the person, but that'll be different types of listening resources, reading resources, speaking and practice for like conversation practice, writing practice, all this sort of stuff built on top of that. Anyway, if we talked about that though, this would be like a whole separate session. So let's just move on. There is one more usage of this form, and it looks the same. You take a verb stem, you attach urida if it ends in a consonant, or you attach rida if it ends in a vowel, or if it ends in the consonant lir. Just like before. However, this one doesn't have ko at the end, which means this one's not going to be a quoting form. Meaning, that's the end of the sentence once you get to here. So if you have hada, you get harida. 먹다, to eat, 먹으리다. 살다, to live, 살리다. That's it. Very easy to make, and it comes from the same form. So I said before that this form is actually just the archaic version of this, right? Or you can think of it like ketta, or maybe koshida, or koya, like, right, like koeo, or whatever. So that's just what this form is. It's will do something. So will do or will be when you're making a guess or assumption about something. And that is it. This form by itself can also be used to make an assumption or a guess about the future. And by that, you can think of it as meaning either will or would. So if it's an action, will do or would do, or if it's a description, will be or would be. Essentially, actually, let me just write it more simply. You can think of this as kind of like the koeo ending. Harida, har koeo. Same meaning. The nuance though is very different. This form is a fancy way. Remember, we said the other form as well is fancy. This is a fancy way of just saying that something will or would. But this usage is not common, especially in regular everyday speech. This usage is only for very fancy speaking or very fancy writing. And the place that you'll hear this sort of usage the most is just going to be either songs or poetry, because that's usually where you're going to find the most fancy type of Korean in modern day Korean. This is not a common everyday form, but it is a future tense form. So something will be, or something will happen, or would be, like that. Okay. I'll give you an example sentence in just a second, but write this down. Music industry is about who you know, to be honest, talent, networking, and a little bit of luck. It's the same in Korean, I'm sure. Or Korea. Human being. Keith. Inmek. Yeah. Inmek. Watch V-Boards ends up sponsoring. If someone works at V-Boards, contact me. Send me some pens. I will mention them. Every time I pick up a pen, I'll be like, I love my V-Board pen. Every time I write with my V-Board pen, I feel like I can teach Korean better because of my V-Board pen. I'll do that. Just give me some pens. I did it with Expo. I would always say, I love using my Expo markers, but I stopped doing that because, like I said, they kept sending me boxes that had dried out pens. So now I say, everyone should use Peak Intensity Avance. Oh wait, that's the French translation. Peak intensity pens. You know, I have so much sway over the pen industry. My word, I can just say one word. Like I can just say a brand name and their stock will shoot up. Every time I say Expo, watch the stock ticker. It goes up like a few points. Every time I say, one day I did a live stream and I didn't say Peak the entire time. Their stock dropped like 50%. It's crazy how much influence I have over these pen companies. Nastaria. Nastaria, is this for the is this for one of the caviar fund or the pen fund or the cake fund? It's one of those. Thank you, Nastaria. A quarter of the hour, I choose to make the other 10 go to the big egg fund. Hey, you're gonna put a big egg. I think so far, Nastaria, you gave me $10. I can almost buy an egg with that, right? I think I could buy an egg, maybe 2 eggs. I'll dream big. I can buy maybe 2 eggs with that. Thank you, Nastaria. Make myself a nice 2-egg omelet. Actually, what I like to make, something called matzo brie. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, give me a B in the chat. It's basically you crush up matzah into like little tiny chunks, bite-sized chunks. You crush up a matzah, which is that flat, dry bread, into eggs. So you mix up a bunch of eggs, maybe like 3 eggs for 1 sheet of matzah. It depends on what you want. You can also add hot dog in there too. Chop up like hot dog really thin, put it in there. Let it soak for like 10 minutes so the matzah is not rock hard when you cook it. And then you cook it like scrambled eggs. Don't overcook it though, but you cook it just like scrambled eggs. Take it out. And you just, add some salt or else it's going to be kind of bland. You add some salt to it before you cook it. And that's it. It's really good. It's like, it's one of the best poverty foods that I know. that's like really healthy and feels really filling, but costs like nothing. Or at least it used to cost like nothing. Now, you know, I don't know how much eggs are right now. They're just crazy. Keep going up. But yeah. Sorry, Kai says... Kai sent a donation. I'm going to read your message. And then I'm going to give you a sentence for this. Don't worry. Okay. Kai says, sorry, emergency Adobe meeting. I'll get in contact with the pen company's marketing department for you, Billy. All right. I appreciate it. What about Adobe's marketing department? What about Adobe sponsoring a video? I don't even know how that would work because I don't even use it for editing. But maybe it's possible someday. You know, don't call me. I'll call you. My people will call your people. Thank you, Kai. Belated top of the hour, 5 for bills and 5 for anniversary cake. Yeah, I'm still planning an anniversary video, though I haven't filmed it yet because first I actually have like five projects I'm working on at the same time right now. One of them you already know is the new course I'm coming up with, which is extremely crazy. That course, I hope you'll like it. It's going to be like, I don't know if it's okay to say it. It's going to be every single sentence connector in the entire Korean language. I'm pretty confident to say that. It's like everything and more. And that's why it's taking me so long, because there are so many sentence connectors, like organizing them and explaining them simply and giving examples. I regret starting this course. I've spent like 4 weeks working on it so far. No, 3 weeks ever since I made the announcement about it. And I've only gotten done like 4 lessons. It's ridiculous. There's so much stuff in them, but that, and I'm also working on some more cheat sheets, which are going to be released sometime next month. You'll see a few more cheat sheets. So yeah. But yeah, because it takes so long, I need to take breaks. I can't just do it every day or I'll go crazy. So I'm breaking it up by doing other projects. And yeah, I'll do an anniversary video as well. I haven't planned what I'm going to talk about for that yet, but I'll do something. Thanks, Kai. Okay. Let me give you an example sentence. Yeah, more cheat sheets. I already finished a couple of them, so it's not a pipe dream. I already did 2. I could tell you they're going to be all the verb conjugations for making adjectives, from descriptive verbs and action verbs. And yes, it took a very long time because there are a lot of exceptions, but I got it down. It's really nice. They fit on 1 page. So I'm pretty happy about that. Okay. 5살 아이도. So even a 5-year-old child, 이 정도, this much, this amount, 는 this much, it's just for emphasis. 할 수 있으리라, 할 수 있을 것이다, 할 수 있을 거야, would be able to do this much. Even a 5-year-old could do this much. Now, this is actually a common expression, this sentence. You might see this in Korean. Even a 5-year-old could do this much. Just sort of emphasizing how, you know, simple it would be to do this much. 5살 아이도 이 정도는 할 수 있으리라. So notice it just ends with 있으리라. It doesn't have like 생각해요 or anything like that. It is the same meaning, will or would be able to, in this case, 할 수 있다, would be able to. But now it's a much more fancy sounding, again, not common, but very fancy sounding, kind of like poetry almost. You'll see this in some songs, especially like you'll see it in a lot of like religious songs, poetic sounding songs, anything like that. You're going to see this form. But again, it's the exact same thing that we just learned, minus that verb at the end and minus the 고. And that's it. That is the lesson for today. Now you are a master of 으리라 and 으리라고. How do you feel? Let me take a quick thumbnail. I think that's good. That's not too scary. Now I'm going to take questions about anything. It doesn't have to be about this lesson. You can ask about Korea or whatever, and we'll talk just for a little bit. Definitely I'll stop before the top of the hour because my tablet, these days, this tablet only survives like 3 hours total, and then it just dies. So if I go any longer than that, this thing's just gonna die again. But yeah. Xandri says, please explain sandals in winter. I can tell you about advanced grammar. I can do spacing rules better than native Koreans for the most part, but I have no clue why people would wear sandals in the winter. No, actually, I know the reason why. It's just because it's common to wear sandals in Korea in general. You wear them when you go into like kind of public areas, you wear them in bathrooms, you wear sandals around your own house. So wearing sandals outside is kind of like, oops, I didn't wear my shoes. Oh, well, kind of that sort of thing. It's not like they prefer wearing sandals. It's just kind of like the equivalent to not proper, like what maybe we would think of this as like wearing sweatpants outside. For us, it's like, why are you wearing sweatpants outside? Well, it's just because it's comfortable inside and I wore it outside. Even though it's also a kind of culturally acceptable, it still kind of has the feeling of you rush to put something on. So sandals are kind of the same way. It's not that big of a deal in Korea. They just think, oh, they just wore sandals, whatever. They just didn't spend time to put on shoes. But yeah, it's not a big deal. You'll see a lot of people just wearing sandals outside, and they're not going to do it like all day. It's just, they figured, whatever, I'll just go outside. I'm not going to be outside too long. It's okay. That sort of thing. That's my guess anyway. Going hatless. No, actually, I think it's the opposite. Most Koreans tend to be, on average, more sensitive to the cold weather than they are to warm weather. I don't know the exact reason for it. I do know one of the reasons why Koreans might seem to care less about hot weather than we as Europeans do. And that's sweat glands, because Koreans have different sweat glands than we do. So they don't quite, get drenched in sweat, most of them, when it's summer. So for them, they'll feel nice and warm, but they're not going to get all sweaty in the same spots that we would when we're wearing too many clothes in the summer. Winter, on the other hand, I found on average, it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, if any Koreans are watching, if you disagree, it seems Koreans are more sensitive to the cold. So if there's like a slight cool breeze, you might see Koreans being like, oh, time to batten down the hatches, better get out my thick coat. Like as soon as it starts getting like a tiny bit cool, they might interpret that as cold. So no, I don't think it's they're better at handling the cold. I think it's just that they're more sensitive to cold in general, but why don't they wear hats in the winter? I don't know. They just don't like hats. Maybe they're anti-hat. Mason says, your interview videos where you ask the same few questions are the best. Oh, thanks. I filmed all of those during the summer, not the same day. Each video was filmed with separate people and different days. But I filmed them all in June and July, and I only made 5 of them as a test just to see what people think about them. But I could make some more. Matzo brie is good with maple syrup. Yeah, maple syrup sounds good. I actually just eat it plain, but if maple syrup from my pancakes gets on them, I eat them. If ketchup gets on them, I eat them. So yeah, they're kind of good with anything. 동굴 사람도 이 정도는 할 수 있으리라. I know what you're trying to say, but that's not the word. That's not the word that you want. 혈고인. Yeah. The word for caveman that you're looking for is not 동굴사람, not a cave, but 혈고인 is like a caveman, like that sort of meaning. And yeah, I do remember that series of Geico commercials, as well as the horrible TV show that lasted like 1 episode. Did it get 2 episodes? It was not funny. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, Geico made a series of advertisements that were like, it's so easy, a caveman could do it. And then they would have, the joke would be, there would be an actual caveman in the audience that would be like, not cool, man, not cool. And would get really offended at that for insulting cavemen. And that would, the commercials were hilarious and they were really popular. Then Geico thought, hey, we should make a TV show about the cavemen living in a modern society, right? It sounds like a kind of like a new concept. I can't think of another TV show that had that concept. Maybe if you think, maybe like Dinosaurs was kind of like that, or in some ways like the movie Encino Man. It's just kind of like that concept, but let's make it a TV show. Sure. The problem was I think it's the writers. I think they didn't get good writers, and the shows were, the jokes were all bad. None of them were funny. So the show lasted, I think it was like one episode or maybe 2 episodes, like the pilot episode, basically. They like advertised the heck out of it, said, oh, it's this brand new show, it's gonna be hilarious. And then no one liked it. It was horrible and they canceled it, but they tried. New Jeans, what do you find the most difficult thing? Just everything. When you're brand new, everything. Mikey says you should change your hat or put a star on the whiteboard at the end of your lesson so you can easily scrub through and find the end of the lesson. Oh, that's a good idea. But I mean, I edit my videos in order, so I always know where the ending is anyway, for me. But if it helps someone else, sure. How useful would it be to do a Korean language course in university? Oh, extremely helpful. Yes. Yes. And would it be a good place to start making connections? Yes, it would. Now, the university you pick is going to make a big difference, because when you say study Korean at a Korean university, what you're actually talking about isn't going to the Korean university, but it's going to the university's language exchange, the language program, not language exchange, but language program. For example, Yonsei University is a very prestigious university in Korea. You're not going to get into it, but you could get into very easily their language school that they have, which is like connected, but it's separate organization from the school. And you could get, they have like language programs at a lot of the major colleges. So if you do one of those programs, that's fine. You're going to get connected with people, but they're all different. So some of them are better than others. So definitely do your research before you just sign up for whatever you think is the best college, because their language schools are separate from the college. Hey, Kai, thank you. Kai says Sandal Fund. What's the What is the Sandal Fund? Here, I'll draw a little sandal. What is the Sandal Fund? I have a pair of sandals. I do not wear them in Korea outside. Also, any tips on staying motivated when you don't have a tangible why or a goal with a time crunch? Do you have any friends that speak Korean? I think, okay, I kind of get what you're getting at. I think the purpose of your question isn't specifically to ask that. I think the question is specifically to ask, what do I do about the times I really just don't feel motivated? Even by the things that got me interested in Korean. What do I do to keep studying Korean? Even when I don't have the regular motivation, is what I think that's what you're asking. And it's this, you do it anyway, but you severely decrease the amount that you're expecting yourself to do it, such to a point that doing that bare minimum takes no thought and no effort from you, but that you can tell yourself that you're still doing it, so you don't completely lose motivation and you don't think mentally that you've given it up. Something like 5 minutes a day, where you say every day, no matter what, I'm going to do, let's say, vocab study for 5 minutes, or 5 minutes where I have to watch a Korean YouTuber that I like. You know, something that you might do anyway, nothing terrible. Something a tiny bit, and tell yourself though it's okay if you start it, you can go longer. Like if you start doing 5 minutes of vocab study, but you actually like it, then you can go 10 minutes or whatever. Or maybe your 5 minute goal is, I'm going to watch this Korean lesson video, just 5 minutes of it. But if I like it, I'm allowed to go further. I can watch the whole thing for 30 minutes or whatever. I think something like that, setting really small goals, because we're like really sensitive to goals, that we hit our goal and we feel like, oh, it's great. And we miss our goal. It's like, oh, I messed everything up. I can't continue again. I have to start all over. That's probably what I would recommend. Because when you're not motivated, you're not motivated. No one's going to force you to be interested in learning Korean. But you know you are, just not right now, then that's probably what I would do. Oh, Flo Purdy. Flo Purdy, thank you so much. Flo, you've just become our, apologies for my voice. My throat just got kind of dry. Flo, you are a mega supporter for today. Your name is going to be at the end of the video. Anyone who donates, this is like, I don't think I've ever said this before, but if you've ever watched my live stream or bridge videos, you'll see sometimes there are names at the end. That's anyone who donates more than $50 during a stream. I put their name at the end. Like, it could be one donation. It could be like they make a bunch of $1 donations, whatever. They get their name at the end. So yeah, Flo, you're going to be my my sponsor for today. Thank you so much. And you say, bottom of the hour, spread the wealth amongst all the current funding efforts. Put some eggs. Everyone gets an egg. Even mommy gets an egg. Everyone gets a cake. Little cake. I'm not drying it very well because I'm doing it kind of fast. And everyone gets a sandal too. I know they all kind of look the same, but I promise you it's an egg, a cake, and a sandal. All right, we can do that. We can do that. Tablet fund. Well, to be fair, there was I did do a tablet fund like a year or so ago, and it reached the goal. So I got money to buy a tablet, but I'm still just using it because I feel bad about making electronic waste when it still works. If this was like fried or something, I would just throw it away, no qualms about that. But because it still works, I feel bad like putting it in a closet and never touching it again when it works perfectly, right? It kind of does. I mean, it still gives me like 3 hours of battery life, maybe on a good day. Your motivation should be to master Korean, and then you'll save a lot of money at the top of each hour. Yes. No, you were talking about sandals when I typed that. Okay. So from my understanding, 미안하다 is less polite than 죄송하다. Yes, but not polite, but 죄송하다 could be used in formal situations, but 미안하다 would not. That's what it means, is that 미안하다 is informal, but it's not impolite. What would be more polite then if you just do 미안합니다 versus 죄송해요? Oh, I see what you're saying. It's not, okay, politeness is different than formality. You can use formal speech and be rude, believe it or not. Formality has to do with the level of respect you are showing to the person you're speaking with. Politeness is just an arbitrary word we use to define how the other person's going to feel about what we're saying, or how we intend for the other person to feel about what we say. So we can use formal speech, but we're intending to be rude, because formal speech sounds like you're being distant from the person and being very respectful. But if it's someone you're supposed to be close with, then we could be doing it on purpose to make them feel like, oh, I'm not your friend. I don't want to be close with you. So it's just how we intend it to be. So the words of politeness and formality shouldn't be mixed because they're different. So if you're thinking which one's more formal, well, 미안합니다 is more formal. If you're thinking which is polite in a regular situation, if you're saying to a stranger, 미안합니다 would be more polite because it has that extra respect from 합니다 versus 해요, which is informal. But besides that, it doesn't mean that in a vacuum, it's not going to be. Actually, I should say it that way. In a vacuum, yes, 미안합니다 is more polite, but in the real world, it doesn't really mean that. It could be either. Oh, Mikey! To the sandal fun. Here, Mikey, you get your egg fun. You get your birthday cake fun. I mean, the anniversary cake fun. You get a sandal fun, but it's emphasized on the sandal. You get the other ones, though, from Flo Purdy, who funded everyone's egg, cake, sandal funds. Thank you, Mikey. 죄송하다 is sort of awkward. Yeah, you wouldn't say 죄송하다. It sounds really weird. You could say 미안하다, but 죄송 by itself has more of a formal, sincere feel to it. So if you were to say 죄송해, it's awkward because 죄송 itself is like formal, polite sounding, or it's more respectful sounding, but the hey is casual and it doesn't match. So you couldn't say 죄송해요. You could say 죄송해. You can't say 죄송해. Now, sometimes friends jokingly might say 죄송, but it's kind of like I'm jokingly using this normally formal word in a casual way. It doesn't sound sincere, but you could normally say 미안, like oops, and it doesn't sound like you're being sarcastic. It just sounds like you're casually saying sorry. Oops, sorry about that. 미안, oops, my bad. So you do hear 미안 used a lot. Again, casually. Top one is a burrito. Yeah. So funny story about that. When I was when Jeremy, so my kid Jeremy, when he was first born, like I think after like a year, about a year after he was born or so, he was already speaking before like a year, like saying a bunch of words. And I was trying to save money. I didn't have any money. So I was trying to save money by making a bunch of frozen burritos. So I wrapped them in aluminum foil. I made like 12 at a time. And I did this twice where I cooked up, I think like a bunch of pork and vegetables or whatever. And I just made this giant pot of it. And then I bought a bunch of tortillas. I loaded them up, wrapped them in foil and froze them so I could eat them later. They turned out okay. But I had all these burritos in this silver foil in the freezer for like months that I was eating. Every time I was like really hungry, I'd grab one. And Jeremy saw that and I told him it's a burrito. So he'd be burrito, burrito. Whenever he'd see them, he'd say burrito. But then my microphone, not this one, you can see this one is kind of black color, but my original microphone was silver. So he would see my silver microphone and he knew it wasn't a burrito, but he'd always point at it and go, burrito, burrito, ah, and like laugh at it, joking. I think this was like maybe a little over a year old, before a year and a half. He always called it a burrito. So we always remember that. Anytime I think of burrito, I always think of my old microphone that I used before I upgraded to this one. Ministry of Music Union. Yeah, I got an egg. Can I offer you an egg? I want to rewrite that, but I'm just over it. Yeah, 죄송 is more of a serious word, so you wouldn't be using it with casual endings like hey. You wouldn't say 죄송해, but you could say 미안해. You could say 미안해요. You could say 미안합니다. But between 미안합니다 and 죄송합니다, you're gonna actually say 죄송합니다 more because it's in that sort of a formal situation. 죄송합니다, like I'm really sorry about that. More sincere. Versus 미안합니다 is okay, it's just not as sincere. It doesn't sound as serious. So if you actually make a mistake, you actually want to apologize and they're a stranger or someone you're not close with, 죄송합니다 is better. If you're kind of close with them, you're not casual, but you're kind of close, then 죄송해요 is still better. If you're seriously apologizing, go with 죄송. For close friends, you want to go toward 미안. So 미안, 미안해, 미안해요 is better for close friends. And Ministry asks, would it be useful to do a Korean language course at university not in Korea? Sure. If you have a language course that's outside of Korea, that's fine. The key, though, that you're missing out on is the exposure to the language. Now, you can recreate that outside of Korea by getting lots of listening practice from watching shows and stuff like that. But really, you just want to get friends. You just want to get some Korean friends that you can practice with. If you don't, then tons of YouTube live streams that you can hear people speaking how they actually would talk, and then chatting with them, maybe sending them a few dollars, every time. That way they'll reply to your messages. So you get kind of Korean practice. That's the poor man's Korean tutor. Poor man's Korean tutor is going into random Korean streamers' chats, paying them a little bit of money, a few dollars here, a few dollars there, and then getting Korean practice with them. If you have more money though, yeah, hire a tutor, 10, 20 bucks, 30 bucks an hour, depending on the person. And just having them only speak to you in Korean, force you to use Korean back to them. That's a really good method too. 죄송합니다 is more polite than 미안합니다 a little bit, but almost the same. Yeah, meaning is the exact same, but if you're in a situation where you want to be formal, you definitely would use 죄송합니다, not 미안합니다. In that case, you need to use 죄송합니다 because it's more serious. If you were to say 미안합니다 to your boss, it sounds like you're not as sincere as if you were to say 죄송합니다. It's the same thing with 감사합니다 and 고맙습니다. They have the exact same difference and nuance as well. 감사 is also the Hanja version. It has the more formal, official, fancy feel to it. And 고맙다 is the pure Korean one, which has more of a casual, friendly, less serious feeling to it. So you're not going to see someone say 감사해 the same way you're not going to hear someone say 죄송해. But 고마워 is fine. 고마워, 고마워요, 고맙습니다. But 감사해요 is okay. 감사합니다 is okay. And then 감사 jokingly is okay, but it's awkward if you're using it seriously. I didn't have any money. Yeah. Well, like there's different levels of doing this, of, you know, being a Korean teacher and doing this YouTube where I didn't have money, and there are different amounts of that, how serious it was. But yeah, this time was, we just had Jeremy, and I could barely even make videos because I didn't have time. And on top of that, didn't have much money after Jeremy either. And didn't have any new books that I had just released or anything that were selling well or anything. So it's kind of like, I don't have much money. I want to have lots of food every day, but burritos are okay. And burritos, I think it was like $30 or something in ingredients to make like 12 gigantic burritos or something like that. It was a pretty good value when I worked it out. So I just got kind of sick of eating the burritos. And after I did it twice, so I made like 2 dozen or so. After I did it twice, I was like, no more burritos. I haven't eaten a single one of those burritos since. I still like burritos, just not those ones. Oh, ministry. Yeah, take care. I guess your phone's dying. That's too bad. Say your phone was only at 1% left. Let me just check to see if there's another message that I missed. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions for the stream today? Kai says, how'd your books sell when you first released them? No, actually, they didn't sell great, but they did catch on right away because I had the Kickstarter. I started with a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter got me enough money to pay for the artist and all the audio files, an editor at the time, a book cover, a bunch of stuff that I had to pay for, and gave me a little bit extra to pay for my rent for that month because I was still working on it for like a couple months after I started the Kickstarter. When it was mostly done already, I still had to do all that extra work. The book was getting like, I think it got like a couple hundred copies the first month, which was nice. It was okay. At the time, with how much stuff cost and how much what is it? The books paid per book. It's now less. They've increased the prices of paper and stuff like that. But yeah, it was enough to pay the rent, which was kind of cool. Right from the very beginning. Now, it didn't ever like, go up crazy, but yeah, it did start off as something where I looked at it and said, oh, maybe if I make some more of these. But yeah, unfortunately, I was hoping that when I make 3 books, it'll be 3 times that much, but unfortunately, that's not how it works. Everyone starts learning Korean just for fun, out of boredom, for curiosity, or whatever reason. And then the majority of people learning any sort of language only stick around for a little bit and then drop off. But I can't really complain about that. That's the same for pretty much any hobby out there. So yeah, the first book still sells the most copies. Let's see. Nastari says, what are the little circles by everyone's name? Are there circles? Oh, yeah, these. So yeah, basically the big circle is for the egg fund, specifically the big egg fund. The thing that looks like a guy with hair, that's supposed to be a birthday cake with 3 candles. And that's supposed to be for my 20 years or 2 candles, I guess, for my 20 years of learning Korean. And then the other one's a sandal for the sandal fund. I don't know why there's a sandal fund. I have sandals. I guess sandals cost like 2,000원 maybe, like 2001, or 5,000원 if you get nice ones at Daiso. They're not an expensive item. You can buy Korean sandals really cheap. I have I have sandals, but for some reason, they have a sandal fund for me also. Yeah, egg cake and sandals. I thought that was a chocolate bar. Chocolate bar would be more useful to me than sandals. I can eat chocolate. I can't really eat sandals. It was a typo. Now I guess there's a fun. It was supposed to be for a tablet. And now it's sandal. Zandria says, besides Weverse and variety shows, where can I learn more about casual Korean? It's not like there's a textbook out there for how to talk with a regular guy, although yours had great natural conversations. Yeah, like the conversation course I made is one example, but it's not like a ton. I mean, the conversation course itself, each episode's like 20 minutes to 30 minutes max. So even with all 20 episodes, it's still not that much. It's only like several hours. You want something that's like dozens and hundreds of hours of material. Casual Korean, you're not going to get it from variety shows anyway. Weverse, you're not going to actually get as much casual Korean as you think, because Weverse, or I guess now it's whatever platform your favorite group uses, they're not actually going to be talking to themselves the same way they would when the camera's not rolling, because they know that they're doing it for an audience. They know there are people watching them. So they're going to be, for the most part, they're going to be respectful. They're going to speak clearly because they want the listener on the other side of the camera to understand them. So they're not going to speak the regular way they normally would. If you want to hear actual Koreans speaking with each other, you just have to kind of eavesdrop, but in a polite way. You just go to Korean restaurants and kind of sit around. You eat slowly when you go to a Korean restaurant. You go to a cafe in Korea. You sit down, just drink your coffee really slowly and kind of just listen to what people are saying. Or live streamers. So not Weverse specifically, because that's going to be K-pop groups or Korean music groups, not just K-pop, but music groups that are, like I said, they're kind of addressing their fans and speaking clearly to them. But a regular streamer is not going to do that for the most part. For a lot of like the general everyday streamers that just kind of walk around or just play games or whatever, they're just talking more normally to the camera. They're not like a celebrity. They're not trying to like they're not trying to like act or do anything. They're just talking with you as a regular person. I'd say that's going to be pretty useful. So regular streamers, not necessarily famous people, just regular Korean streamers. That's probably what I would go with, but then still, they're not going to be talking to you in casual speech most of the time, but some of them do. This is easier though if you live in Korea, because you can't really do too much eavesdropping and hear other people if you're not in Korea, but you could still at least watch live streamers. And then the other way would be just if you make a Korean friend, and if they're older than you and you get close, then you can ask them to speak casually to you, and they might ask you to speak casually back to them, or they might be okay with it. So if you make a friend in Korea and you get kind of close, you could both be speaking casually to each other, even if you're a little bit different age. So that could be another way. Just ask them to speak casually. And burrito, not homemade. Is there a burrito fund? That would be cool. You know what? You know what's really good is where is it? Where's a really good burrito? Does anyone have any recommendations for like a really good burrito? Where can I get a really good burrito? Sometimes, you want just like a really good burrito, but you don't want like a dry burrito or something kind of gross. You don't want like just fast food. You want like a really good burrito. Where can I get a really good burrito? That's true for most idols using Weverse, but I'll tell you, Jin from BTS is, yeah. So everyone's different, and you might find some celebrities that do Weverse. So it's supposed to be like, they're supposed to like, be acting and presenting the best version of themselves, but you'll see some people will still be like, whatever, and they just talk however they want. Jin isn't the only one who does that. I believe I noticed, Jimin did that too. Jimin also just kind of spoke however he felt, but only when he was kind of, I don't know if he was kind of drunk or something, but I did notice a bunch of times when he would just speak like whatever, like you could tell he's not paying attention to the camera. But yeah, every group might have someone in there. Surstrumming fun. Oh, that's expensive. Surstrumming, when I did that video back in 2019 or whatever, Surstrumming, or 2018, it was like over $50 for a single can imported, because they don't sell it. They don't make it in the US. It's all imported. And they don't sell it either. You have to get it shipped directly from like wherever. Good burritos everywhere. That's not quite true. There are lots of good burrito places, but I want the best burrito. Where's the best burrito? Mexican friends can make authentic, really good burritos. I don't have any Mexican friends. That's my problem. Oh, Small asks, could you explain the difference between 입다 and 착용하다? Yeah, that's pretty simple. 착용하다 is any sort of wear. Like in English, how we say wear a hat, wear a shirt, wear a vest, wear pants, wear shoes, wear socks. 착용하다 is for everything. It's just wear, but it's a more fancy word. So because it sounds more fancy, it's more of a formal official word. You're going to see it used for things like traditional clothing. Putting on pieces of traditional clothing, like hanbok is the most common way you're going to see it. You're not going to see it so much for regular everyday clothes just because it has a fancy feel. So if you're wondering, which should I use? The answer is probably not 착용 unless you're talking about hanbok. But even hanbok is 입다 too. But if you want to be fancy, like to put on your hanbok, it has more of a fancy feeling to it versus just to wear it. As a Michigander, I don't think I can recommend burritos to a California. That's fair. Las Fuentes, Renault Street, Reseda. Oh, okay. I know where that is. It's not close, but it's not too far. Vanoan Street. I know that street. Las Fuentes. Okay. I think I actually know the restaurant you're talking about. Let me check if this is where I was thinking. Yes, I know exactly where you're talking about. I have never been here, but I have seen this before. Yeah. Okay. It's good to know that it's popular anyway. I could try it. I think it's it's less than an hour from here. It's not too bad. Top bean and cheese burrito in the country at the restaurant Chili Pepper. It was in a whole national article in Yuma. Yuma? Where's that? I don't know where that is. Here in London, we have a brand called Chilango for burritos, but not sure if they're worldwide. Never heard of that. 구두 착용한. Yeah, you wouldn't typically use it for regular items of clothing, as I said. Like, it makes sense. Seemed like it was used for accessories. Yeah, it's everything, but it could also be accessories. Like I said, it has more of the feeling of like to put on something versus just to wear it. So it just has a little bit more of a fancy feel. I don't recommend using it though, but you might see it used in like official articles, like formal writing and formal speaking, anything where you want it to sound a little fancier. Like you're not just putting it on, but you are putting it on like that. Something I'm learning though is not all caffeine is the same. Not all caffeine is made equal. It feels like these drinks have like 60 milligrams of caffeine in them, but even if I drink them, I'll still feel like mostly normal. But I have some caffeine pills I got, which are only 25 milligrams. But if I have one of those, I'll be like alert the entire day, all the way until night. So I don't know. Is that true for other people? Like some caffeine is like, doesn't work very well and other caffeine. Like I don't feel tired, but I feel pretty normal right now. But if I had taken like my other caffeine, what I have, it would have been like this. And even some of the other flavors of caffeine drink that I have are like either weaker or stronger. Some of them are like too much and they give me a headache. Yuma, Arizona. Okay, that's the only Yuma I'd heard about is that movie, right? Arizona. Yeah, I used to drive up to Arizona maybe once a year, once every 2 years, because my grandmother used to live there. And on the way to Arizona, there's one place that I always stopped at. Do you know? Can you guess? It's somewhere between California and Arizona. There's one spot that I always stopped at. You might be able to guess. I also went there just last month or this month. Yeah, just a few weeks ago, I also went there. Arizona, California, and Texas. We're from Mexico. You can find wonderful burritos there. Yes. How would you say something like, I'm going crazy? It wouldn't use kada. No, you'd use a variation of michigeta, which means I will be crazy. I would be crazy. I'm going to be crazy. Comes from the verb michida, to be crazy. So you can use michigeta, michigenne, like that. Ah, michigenne. Oh, dang, I'm going crazy. There's a few other ways to express that, though. 골 때리다, 환장하다. There are a couple other ways, too. But this is like the most standard way. Man, I'm going crazy. Oh, 미치겠네. Man, driving me crazy. Gonna go crazy. 미치겠다. But then again, you could use it as 미치겠다 casually, or 미치겠네, like that is also a common way. Carson City? No, I should clarify. The place that I go every single time is a store that's on the way to Arizona from California. There's a store that I always stop at. In fact, if you work at that store or you go to that store, you'll probably see me. So I'm going to go there again in a few weeks, I'm sure. I don't want to say what I get there, or else you might know. It'd be too big of a tip, too big of a secret. Joshua Tree National Park. Yeah, it's not that. It's a store. It's a place that I stop at. Kai, for chocolate or burrito or Sir Strumming. He's a sir now. He was knighted. Okay, I'll just draw a little fish. I'll draw a fish. It's a chocolate surstrumming, so it kind of represents everything. And you could also wear it on your feet if you're brave enough. Surstrumming, but not for sandals. Not sandals. Okay. I'll remove the sandals. There you go. We got fish. It doesn't look like a fish. Let me redraw that. Let's draw it this way. Let's give it a fin. Okay, now it's I don't know, it still looks better. Cool. For Sir Strumming. I present to you Sir Strumming. Yes. Bucky's? No, it's Hadley's. Don't tell me you don't know Hadley's. Hadley's has, I don't know if I want to say the best, but one of the best, good enough to be called the best, date shakes. So there are two words you should learn. Taechu is like jujube. Taechu in Korea is used in a lot of recipes, like in cooking. You'll see taechu cha, which is tea that has that. It's kind of like a red. It looks like a date, but it's red and it's usually dried. It tastes good though. It's kind of similar to a date, kind of. But anyway, you'll see it used in tea. They also use it in cooking when you make like samgyetang, like some sorts of dishes where they put it inside of a chicken, and you'll see it in Korean cooking sometimes. You can also get like freeze-dried taechu, which are pretty good. They're like nice and crunchy. And then there's another thing, taechu yaja, which is not the same thing. It's a date palm, which the fruit is what we would call dates in English. They don't have these in Korea very much. I know they sell them in Korea, but I've never once seen them. So these are less common, but these are what we would know as dates. And in California, we grow dates. So seeing dates at the grocery store is normal, and they're really cheap. In the Palm Valley, Palm Desert, so that's near where Hadley's is. If you don't know where that is, if you know the giant dinosaur statues that you might have seen in some movies before? Anyway, that area of California is the only place that has date shakes. So it's shakes made using dates. They like smash them up and dry them, I think, and then they sprinkle them as like powder inside of the date, mix it with ice cream. So it's like date flavored ice cream shake. It is the best shake in the entire world. You can add chocolate to that, so it can become like a chocolate date shake, or banana is really common. You can do peanut butter. I've tried a bunch of these. They're all incredible. I don't have a favorite yet. But yeah, date shakes are only in that area of California. It's like a local specialty. I've never found them in other places, except for a couple stores that have like in kind of the area, like surrounding area. I've seen some stores that say they sell date shakes, but they're not as good as the ones actually in the area. But yeah, that's the difference between these two. So they're both good, but these are better. What would you say the dominant music genre is in K-pop, so that I know which genre to focus on mastering? Ballads and it's like ballads, hip hop are probably the most dominant, and then other sort of just general pop music, but I don't know what genre you'd classify that as. It's still love songs. That's still like the main thing. If you want to be safe, like something easy though, is just go for ballads, because those are always popular. They always have been popular. I can't see them not being popular. But Korea also has, you know, rock music, like all sorts of types of music are also in Korea too, jazz. But yeah, K-pop is still the most common. I see a bat symbol. Yeah, that's supposed to be a fish. It's supposed to be Sir Strumming. That's the burger joint. No, they don't have burgers here. That's a different place. Phoenix is a city, Dateland. They have date shakes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's in Cabazon. No, not in Cabazon, but close to Cabazon. Yeah. Hadley's has nuts. Yeah, they also sell nuts. It's basically, Hadley's is basically like Trader Joe's, but with a smaller selection. They don't have like all the frozen stuff. It's like Trader Joe's minus the frozen aisle. Yeah, that's probably a good way I can describe it. Trader Joe's minus the frozen stuff. So it's like stuff that they specifically pick to sell. So like lots of fruit, you know, they have like sodas, interesting foods and stuff like that, beef jerky and some snacks. But they also have a little area off to the side that sells food. Never tried their food, but their date shakes are perfect. So good. Yeah, it's worth driving out there to get a date shake. So I used to every time I'd go to Arizona, but then my grandmother moved closer, which is great, but I don't get to go to Hadley's anymore as often. Peanut butter sounds like it would be great for, yeah, the peanut butter date shake was incredible. It was so good. And then I got, like I said, I got peanut butter. I also tried the chocolate one. I've tried the banana ones. I've tried banana and peanut butter, and they have a few other flavors too. I haven't tried everything there, but enjoy Pollo Loco, Billy, and ice cream from Ralph's. Ice cream from Ralph's? What are you talking about? Are you talking about Thrifty's ice cream? Thrifty's ice cream is the best, but I don't know if you're talking about that. El Pollo Loco. Yeah, there's El Pollo Loco. Okay, Kai says, if you had to estimate, how many steps would you say a person or you walks in Korea? Oh yeah, so I don't have to estimate because I have records. Every time I'm in Korea, every day on average, it's around 7,000. Average. This isn't anything special. This is just like I wake up, I get lunch, or meet someone, get lunch, film a video or whatever, walk around a little bit, take the subway, go somewhere else, meet someone, have dinner, come back home. That's it. About 7,000 steps. Average. Some days are a little less, like maybe 4,000 if I really did nothing that day, or 12,000 if we walked around, like I met someone and we walked around a park and hung around or did hiking, then it'll be even more. But I'd say an average, I found it to be around 7,000 steps. Just doing absolutely nothing in Korea will get you like 5,000 to 7,000 steps. And it's not really that much because this isn't like you're not going for a walk. You're just like, you're walking to the closest subway station. Then, okay, now we're at the station. Walk down the stairs. Okay, now let's walk into the subway car. Oh, I don't see any seats here. Let me walk to the next car. Like, these are all steps. Then you get to the station. Oh, I need to walk to the bus stop. Walk to the bus stop. Get on the bus. Walk into your spot. Sit down on the bus. You know, you arrive at the shopping area you're going to go to. You walk around the mall. You walk around the outdoor shopping place. Get back on the bus. Walk back home. Your place is a little uphill. You walk uphill. Like, all these things count. So doing really nothing in particular gets you 7,000. If I do a live stream, the days I do live streams, easily it's over 10,000. You know, 10 to 12, 13,000 for the days that I'm doing live streams where I'm walking around for a couple hours in Korea. Those are, yeah, double this. Walkable city. It's not walkable cities. It's a walkable country, to be honest. The only times you need a car is going to be like if you need to bring equipment somewhere, like you're doing grocery shopping and you need to get a bunch of stuff, like you're buying lots of water bottles or lots of milk, some large amount that you can't possibly carry it on the bus, then you need a car. Like you have a suitcase. You don't really walk with your suitcase like 10 blocks. You know, you're going to get a taxi for that. But other than that, if you need to drive out into the countryside somewhere, then you get a car because they might have a bus stop or a train to get there, but it's not going to be very frequent, or maybe you're going to have to pay a lot for a taxi. So it's better just to drive in that case. But for regular things like going around meeting people, you don't need a car for anywhere in Korea. Like anywhere, any place that any friend of yours is ever going to want to meet you at, you're not going to need a car. And if you are going to go like, hey, let's meet up and let's go to this old Korean temple or whatever, then you'd meet at the station and then you take a taxi to the temple area and then come back. El Pollo Loco. Yeah, it's pretty good. Jack in the Box tacos. Oh, those are good. They used to be, I don't think it is anymore. I think they're like $1 something each, but it used to be 2 for $1. Oh man, give me $5 of those tacos and you are like so full and so happy. Just cover them with hot sauce. And my stomach was always fine from those. Like sometimes Taco Bell would like mess up my stomach, but the Jack in the Box tacos were always like pretty simple. It was just like beef, a little bit of lettuce and some cheese and stuff inside of corn tortilla that was fried. It was like really simple and they're good. There's such good garbage tacos. Does Korea have a word for guilty pleasure? You know, actually, I don't know. I've never heard that expression. Let me search. I bet you there's not, but. Nah, I don't really see it. Nah, not really. Not like a special, like a idiomatic expression like we do in English. At least not that I can find. But if there's a native Korean watching, let me know. What would you say? Mini tacos from Jack in the Box. Yes. I need to prepare to go to Korea again with a Stairmaster. No. Just when you go to Korea, your first few days, your legs are going to be killing you. Just don't worry about it. Just pretend your legs are fine. You will quickly get used to it. It's not a big deal. Every time I go to Korea, the first day, like my legs are, oh my God, my legs are killing me. But it's fine. Wake up the next day, your legs still hurt a bit. Just walk. It only takes a couple days. You get used to it. But yeah, the first day is going to be really hard. Don't bother trying to prepare for it by doing a Stairmaster. Just let it happen. Go eat some El Pollo Loco with Jeremy. Yeah, El Pollo Loco is really good. I mean, there's another restaurant I actually prefer instead of El Pollo Loco that makes better chicken in my opinion, but for a chain, El Pollo Loco is actually really good for like chain food, fast food chain type of food. It tastes like really good. Okay, that's enough for today. We've got, thank you everyone who's donated to our egg fund, our Sir Strumming fund, our sandal fund, our anniversary cake fund. Did I miss anything? Oh, wait, that's right, the big egg fund. So special thanks to our sponsors today: Kai, Brian, Nastaria, Flo, Mason, Hope, Mommy, Hilda, Yingrid, and Mike for making today's stream a wonderful success. Hopefully you got something out of the lesson today. Let me put this I have a feeling the tablet's gonna die. I'm just gonna charge it right now before it dies. I know it's gonna die any second. Okay, any last quick questions before we go? And then I'm gonna edit today's video so I can upload it for all you wonderful members who support me. Check if there's any other last thing. 평소에 즐겨하는 것 중 배덕감이 드는 행동으로 어떤 게 있나요? I mean, it's a sentence, but it's not the expression of guilty pleasure. What you're asking is 즐겨하는 것, something that you enjoy doing. Place in LA, I don't remember the place. Oh, there's a lot of good chicken here. If you want like real, okay, Korean fried chicken is like way up here. And American standard, like your fast food, like your, you know, Popeyes, KFC, all that stuff is like here for the most part. Like it's okay, but Korean, even the exact same brands in Korea are better. Korea just, they mastered fried chicken. But there's an exception. If you go to like legitimate fried chicken restaurants in the US, then I think they're a little bit better. But it's not as common. Like there's a place in LA. Why am I suddenly not remembering the place? Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Man, that place is good. That's the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life. And really good waffles too. There's nothing like that, nothing that high quality I've ever had in Korea. No offense, but those are like, it's like on a different level. Yeah, that's really good. But for regular chicken though, I think Korea wins for the most part. They're way more consistent. Like you're not going to get subpar chicken in Korea for the most part. It's like all really good. Whereas in the US, it's kind of like some places are better, some places are not as good. Like this in Korea, it's like they're all really consistent because there's so much competition over there for chicken. Yeah, Roscoe's fantastic. I read some reviews where they're like, oh, you got to try this. And I'm like, chicken and waffle, that sounds gross. I can do that myself. Just buy chicken, make a waffle. But no, it's special. The combination that they do for just the fried chicken with, you know, the hot sauce you put on, like they've spent a lot of time preparing that specific type of combination, everything that goes with it. Their mac and cheese is okay. I've had better I can make better mac and cheese than them, but everything else they have there, like the collard greens, the fried chicken's, like I said, best I've ever had. Waffles are better, way better than I can make, but way better than I've gotten at like actual breakfast restaurants. Nastaria. Okay, I gotta stop because Nastaria, someone else is donating. I was trying to end the stream and I'm still getting more donations. Nastaria, what does this go? Hold on, I gotta rewrite this. Nastaria, what does this donation go toward? So I can add it. Does this go toward Korean fried chicken? Is this the chicken fund? There we go. There's our fried chicken leg. Takdari. KFC Korean fried chicken. Yeah, KFC, if you are in Korea, try KFC. I know, I'm not a big fan of KFC myself, although I did actually like their Nashville chicken that they had in the US. It was gross, but it was good. Like at the same time, if that makes sense, it was like, ew, I want another. But besides that, I'm not a big fan of KFC in the States, but in Korea, it's really good. I think they just put a lot more love into their chicken and it's more consistent over in Korea. But yeah, KFC. Okay. You got to go to temple food places for fake chicken nuggets. All right. Now you have eggs and chicken and surströmming. Almost. It looks like a light bulb. One day we should do a fun vocabulary day. Win, lose, Billy Jones. Oh yeah, and then next week, like I said, there are only a few you left. Next week there is no regular class, but I'm still going to do a live stream. It's just going to be a bonus live stream where we practice. I think we're going to practice making adjectives because we practiced before making adjectives. I think we did that with action verbs or descriptive verb. One or the other, and we'll do the other one, I think, this coming Sunday. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming, and I will see you next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.